Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It is feature time in Tulsa. Let's go green.
He's got the run, but isn't enough. It's a drag race to the finish. Culver goes from third to first in the last quarter.
Experience the world's most legendary racing events with iRacing. iRacing special events allow any member to compete in full-length multiplayer races based on some of the biggest events in motorsports all year round. Compete in virtual endurance races, such as the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, and the Nurburgring 24 Hours. Take on some of the toughest races on the NASCAR calendar, such as the Daytona 500 and the Coke 600. We have races from disciplines across the racing world, from the Indy 500 to the Chili Bowl, from the Bathurst 1000 to the Crandon Championship. Our endurance special events utilize iRacing's team feature, where members can sign up and race together on their own team, swapping drivers throughout the race. Other events use iRacing Super Sessions, where you're not only racing against those on track, but against everyone taking part. As every race progresses, watch and feel the track change, with progressive time of day, dynamic weather and rain, and dynamic track debris and surface changes. Take on your favorite discipline, or try a brand new racing challenge with our biggest races of the year, the iRacing Special Events. Learn more at iracing.com/special-events.
There is nothing like a balanced meal, isn't there? And this is possibly, for sim racers and endurance fans out there, the best balanced meal that you can house on your Rhineland Palatinate out there, which is the fact that we have got GT3 open action here with the Premier Endurance League at the Nurburgring Grand Prix Strecker. That is something as we call a very, very staple diet that we'll have here today. Damon Woods, the championship leader, walks in with confidence, knowing that he wants to continue marching on here at this second round. We're getting set for racing action of a beautiful 2 hours worth of running. My name's Jake Sperry. Scott Rankin is alongside with me for today's action. Scott, it's a pleasure to have you along with me for the ride. Jake Kennedy over in production. I am very much looking forward to this because this is one of those series that turns around, and I am very happy to say it. It's the top level of GT3 racing for leagues out there in Australia.
Yeah, that it is. It's really become the gold standard that everything's sort of chasing and comparing itself to, a little bit quite by accident. It started out probably not necessarily on that level, but it's very, very slowly and surely worked its way forwards. A lot of work went in behind the scenes from the initial admins, Rick Provenzali and Jimmy Middleton, and now with Lee on board as well, it's continuing to take steps forward and challenge people. And this calendar also steps forward and challenges the driver. See multiple different special event tracks on this circuit as well, and it's going to be one that challenges the drivers yet again tonight, but also creates switchback opportunities. This is a smart driver's track. You do not walk away from the Nurburgring without trying to outthink your opponent at all times.
Yes, this is what we would call a thinking circuit, and the last of the European tracks before our American triple header of the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, Sebring International Raceway, and then Daytona International Speedway on November 29th to bring the season over to a close. Let's talk, though, about where we are and how important all of this running is going to be as we set ourselves out here from the Nurburgring, as we get this lovely view around. We head ourselves into what is the southwest of Germany as we get ourselves ready for action. We are not going to be a million miles. Well, actually, we're more just on the west of Germany out there. So we're halfway between Dusseldorf and Frankfurt. And this circuit, so large that it bounds about through the hills, but we're going for the newer element of this circuit here that had its latest redesign in 2003, adding the AMG chicane, or 2002, that addition then done at the end of the year. But critically, a circuit that formed when it was first introduced out there, Scott, as the Sudspeed, now known as just the Grand Prix Stracker.
Yeah, and it's been through multiple iterations, right? So, you know, this GP, this modern edition of the circuit actually stems from the giant old loop. You know, not necessarily the best track to bring a whole bunch of modern styled race cars to and have them run some shorter format racing, but also gives us that opportunity to go racing on a track and return racing to effectively its cultural identity home in Germany at the same time. In terms of GT3 offerings as well, don't forget you've got Mercedes, Porsche, and BMW that are in the field here tonight. Everybody wants to take a German mark to Germany and have success with it. That is the gold standard in what you're trying to chase. And success on the Schleifer has always been one of those things that drivers chase. Like you said, GP circuit is going to be about switchbacks. It's going to be about car balance, but quite critically, it does wear the tyres in a little bit of a different format than what we saw last time out at Barcelona. But these championship points reflect, you know, strong qualifying performances, but then a car that comes to you as the race progresses.
Well, these championship standings will give Scott here a lovely smile from ear to ear, not because Damon Woods is on top, but because the conglomeration of Grid and Go cars and Logitech Go DBM machines means there's 6 of them inside the top 10. Sean Campbell second, Zach Rattray White finds himself third, Harrison Lillis, Caleb Williams, Lachlan Cable, Lockhart Brownlee, 4 in a row for Logitech Go DBM, with Dan Yeaman there in 9th, William Sapstead in 8th, and Eli Donaldson rounding out your top 10. Scott, you've got to be very pleased here with the work and result that's come from your team out of the opening round.
Well, you say that, but a few of those guys would have walked away and were a little bit frustrated. Callum Williams was actually quite happy. An alternative tyre strategy, he electing not to take tyres at any point during any of the pit stops last time out. Certainly shuffled things up, grabbed himself some track position, and he sort of just let little bits and pieces of it go as the tyres went beyond their limits. So, you know, that also shows that there is cars and you can set those sorts of things up and go in a couple different directions in terms of what your pit stops and that sort of offer you. So yeah, the team was a little bit mixed results. Some guys happy, some guys not. Some guys thought there was a little bit more on the table, but you've also got to remember 5-round championship, you're picking a car that round 1 might have been your weakest round of the series. So you take a look at that top 10 and you go, there's a couple guys outside of that top 10 that had results or left results necessarily on the board, and there's a lot of guys with work to do with for the remainder of the series.
And so that work is going to have to be found out there. So qualifying has completed itself, 25 minutes done. Race 2 hours long, 60% on the tank restriction. So that will take them just about 40 minutes, 35 to 40 minutes. So it's roughly a 2-stop, might be a 3. And so it's going to be a case of getting the tyres and fuel done, and they are done separately in this series and not together. So you've got the choice of, do I want to take just tyres or do I want to take just fuel in terms of result? But the grid is set and it is ready here in the Eiffel Mountains, where Damon Woods finds himself in control with Sean Campbell and the Nick Cage helmet there alongside him on the front row, 600th shy of pole. Zach Rattray-White and Harrison Lillis will house themselves on row 2, which means the top 4 in the championship are 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Byron Pierce will have Dean Mackay for company on row 3 of the grid, with Andrew Scordilis getting a good qualifying for one performance in 7th. Marina Morella there in the Motorsport Simworld SX Ferrari in 8th. Lewis Greathead will start for Vermilion in 9th, with newest signing over to Logitech GODBM, Sebastian Eskandari there in 10th position. The quick team looking to try and continue on his form. Zach Kerr and Danny Davidson, they house themselves 11th and 12th. Row 7 sees the Cadwell Park lap record holder, Richard Mitchum, then with Kobe Williams there in 14th position and a little bit out of place. Kaylin Williams will then be in 15th, with Madeline McGee, she's up in 16th place, with Lockhart Brownlee and Jackson Dial making up row number 9. Your top 20 are rounded out by Alexander Barallon and Lachlan Capel. We've got a lot to go through because we've got a very short pace lap to go on by. Ethan Bass and Dan Yeaman, row 11. William Sapstead and Harald Stadler then making up row number 12. Angus Lawford and Tyson Broad, 25th and 26th, with the likes of Jordan Mazzaroli, Eli Donaldson, Owen Coleman and Lachlan Pryke making up the 30. We've got 11 more names to go through then from that point, which is Greg Cook and Miles Burgess, Joshua Holmes and Curtis Bird, Trent Allen, Jason Wilkinson, Jared Farrell, Corey Bennett, Nick Wood, Aidan Rankin, and then Joel Janssens making up the field as they get set. Pace car has already dived itself on in as they will get ready for these 2 hours to start. Control with the number 1, David Woods, who was all conquering over in Barcelona. Zach Rattray-White was absolutely with him on that start. Green flag in the air, and we are underway. And already the launch then going to be huge. And look at it. How defensive do you want to be? Harrison Lillis there, so deciding no way for Byron Pierce to get down into the turn number 1 corner. And there's contact there with one of the cars on the outside. I think that was Andrew Scordilis who ended up getting a tap as they enter the arena for the first time.
Yeah, and it's about patience, but it's also about aggression. There was a little bit of chatter between a few of the drivers last time by. A lot of the way the Eclipse guys go about putting their cars together is that the track and the cars themselves will come to them as the rubber gets laid down. As more rubber builds up in the session, it will come to them. But it also means they're vulnerable early, so a strong start was needed. They've done that. For everyone else, it's survived this first lap if you dare. 2 wide still down through the end of the arena section, and then down just before we set our sights for the run to the hairpin.
Oh, tip around Barallon in the back then has to go through the gravel as he found himself troubles through the Paget Racing curve down to the Goodyear hairpin. Already you're seeing the dramas starting to unfold. This carousel-esque corner sets you up for the second run back up the hill. And look at this for the Schumacher-esque. This is Kobe Williams against Danny Davidson. Danny, don't you know how to hold a place? Brilliant stuff. And now Davidson having to lift out brings Kobe Williams into play to move around the outside. He gets the pass sorted and says, you know what, I'm going to have that. Richard Mitchum wants to be next to the Vermilion.
The big thing is you can pick yourself up a slowdown penalty if you use too much of the curve on the right-hand side or left-hand side through your Schumacher S's, and that's where Denny Davison's come unstuck on lap number 1. Barallon's obviously going to forward his incident. There must have been contact through the race control. 2x2, if you dare, into the chicane. This is tricky. This is the faster chicane, and that means that racing room and the ability to make passes through it is minimised. There's contact, massive contact from the 57 machine. I think that'll be Kaylin Williams.
It will absolutely thump the back of Madeline McGee there, and that was certainly not going to be helpful on this one. So this was Jackson Dial then on the opening lap, as it is getting busy in the bottom right. So he's now had an issue spin around there, and the Project 36 Lamborghini goes around and creates all of the drama. But into turn 1, they still haven't quite found their happy medium at this stage, still working the 2 wide line. Look at it here between here Danny Davidson then and just behind there Lachlan Capel, as you've got the likes of Williams and Sapstead, McGee, Yeaman, Broad. They're all there, they're all deciding, right, you swing and miss, I'm going to basically turn up to the plate and say I'm hitting a home run and I'm calling my shot Babe Ruth style.
Well, Capel's been on the aggression early, and I was on an earlier version of what he's racing here tonight. Had speed last weekend in the limited series here, so it's definitely a setup that comes to. I found qualifying tricky on that occasion as well. Down the inside, Sapstead was trying to get aggressive.
Yeaman.
Was it Yeaman? Sorry, it was. Yeah, you're right. Contact.
Well, he does not look very happy out there. You could say he looks a little bit like Grumpy Cat after a hit like that, and he did so well at Barcelona, climbing up to 9th place. He needs something just as Herculean tonight.
Yeah, he's going to have to, he'll be on the back foot. It's so tricky to try and work your way back through the pack and max boost contact. Albeit there's been a lot of cars racing heavily in those opening stages on that Chevy as well. It'll bring its tyres in nicely, but now he's got a lot of work to do to bring that car backwards. And think about it in terms of strategy. He might just elect, well, now I'm against it, I might not take tyres. It's strategy levers that you're trying to work on here to gain spots.
Ooh, that was getting a little bit close there to Lewis Greathead Ferrari there at Vermilion. He's looking around defensive here as this will be now door open here from Lockhart Browning. Look at Zach Kerr get down the inside. He wants it out there on this second lap of the race on towards lap 3, and you're seeing here the level of caliber of these sim racers, right? They are taking risks that if you did that in the real world on the opening lap, everyone would call you a maniac.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's so much more room for error in the sim. You're not going to be taking a physical hit. There are drivers over the years who have certainly hurt thumbs if you leave them on the steering wheel. Will Sapstead's going to pick up contact penalty on the opening lap in the 168 machine. I believe that's going to be the car that got spun out and sent towards the rear of the field. It was Alexander Barallon. So that explains that one from lap 1. And now it's just about trying to obviously set yourself in, but I believe there's going to be a little bit of a fuel save to make it run the distance. You cannot, the car's going to burn quite a lot of fuel. The Ferraris were a lot better on fuel last weekend than just about everyone else, and that's what trended OPR to success in the limited series last weekend. They dominated the podium on that occasion. Who was watching, who was taking notes, and who learned something from that, but also race pace in the open series significantly higher, and that's the difference.
Corey Bennett we focus with here as it is getting busy around him then in the Azure Autosports number 33. He's got Aidan Rankin directly behind, Josh Holmes and Barallon having a big scrap with Dan Yeaman. Look at that, the drivers who have run themselves into trouble and been turned around have suddenly found themselves together, and they might just want to work tandem to climb up the field. Look at them fanning out to the Xiaomi corner here, this lovely 90-degree left-hander, and then they've got to flick it all the way around the corresponding right-hand bed of Bilstein to head to now the greatest name in motorsports cornering here, Scott, the Falcon Bogan.
Yeah, that's about the only corner in the international neighbourhood that's ever going to appeal to an Australian. A Bogan, mate. I can tell you there's a lot of those in the field, effectively the nerdiest kind of the Bogans.
Well, you could make the claim out there, Scott, and I don't know how much trouble this would get me into, but there's a lot of drivers at a certain esports team in Australia who could be considered Falcon Bogans.
I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. There's some debates about the legitimacy of that sponsorship over the recent history, and I'll leave that one very much alone because I don't know enough to comment on it, I've got to be honest.
Owen Coleman then here in 24th position, looking around and saying, what can I do to get by? He's got Ethan Bass here from Scotland just in front to try and find that opportunity to make the pass. It's getting busier in front because Eli Donaldson has the look around the outside. Contact with Madeline McGee on the run to turn 5 here, and looking at this Paget Racing curve, there's the next place to get the move done. The Ferrari just trying to hold its ground around the outside, does not quite work out. So Eli Donaldson moves through and gets that Vermilion McLaren jumping up. Next comes the OPR Gamma Flare Mustang of Miles Burgess saying, look, that's 2 that you're going to lose. And now watch out on the exit, Ethan Bass is going to try and pick up a run for the Schumacher S.
And the problem for this Ferrari of Madeline McGee right now is there's damage on both left and right rear corners. A little bit of contact for Ethan Bass is sending him through the long way around. Now it's going to be the opportunity for Owen Coleman to line up and have a crack. Harold Statler, the Austrian, is also lining up, the guy in this series that lives closest to this circuit in the real world at the moment. And the elbows are certainly being traded in the middle of the 20s in this series as we went into our first season of actual qualifications where drivers missed out on their way into this series. You can see how thick the battling is deeper in the pack because this section of the field was covered by absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you could have covered everyone in with a lovely tarp out there, or a picnic blanket, or name whatever implement that you want to cover them. It was close between them out there in the qualifying session that they had, and a lot of 52.8s, and each road to mid-53. We had some great scrapping out there as they go through. Zach Rattray White, the fastest lap of the race, 2 clear at the front, and Sean Campbell 2 seconds off the back in the Lamborghini. So with work to do to try and bring the Grid and Go car back, as Stadler head goes through, a warning for Caelan Williams with the contact with Madeline McGee.
Yeah, and that would have been the checkup. Caelan would have had not much of an opportunity. That's why it's stuck at a warning. And the end result is that that Caelan's picked up a fair bit of damage on the front end. Madeline McGee's also picked up damage on the rear end. So realistically, that says to me that race control were able to attribute a lot of blame to Caelan as significantly more at fault than anyone else. But also there was enough factor in that one to not worry about a penalty. There's been no major loss to Madeline McGee. McGee will contest that wholeheartedly because she's been falling back through the field with the damage suffered on the rear end of that car.
Yeah, that damage makes all of the difference. So you start turning around and saying, look, you are going to have to suffer out there until you reach your pit stop, because if you really want to, you have one fast repair available. Nobody really wants to use their fast repair, Scott, but it's a way to go through. Madeline also gets a 5-second time penalty, contact with Ethan Bass. Yeah,
well, that one, she absolutely missed the turn-in point. I was actually watching that one live. She missed the turn-in point for the Schumacher races with the car on the outside. There could be a comment made for potentially netcode contact of those two cars getting together. Race control elected that decision and said there was enough in it. There was definitely contact between Madeline McGee and, sorry, my apologies, Dan Yeaman. My apologies, I got those two wrong. So it was Dan Yeaman, and that was down at the, at 7. Yeah.
Makes all the difference. Miles Burgess now attacking Eli Donaldson. McLaren versus Merck, and there's a one off the road there, and that's going to fan everybody out. And Lachlan Pryke had to be very careful trying to get his power down. He had another slide then coming through after he tags the likes then of Curtis Bird. Angus Lawford now leading this miniature pack, and it's going to be a case of Corey Bennett watching Jason Wilkinson try and find a way through on the Ferrari. He's still got Pryke to the outside. They are not going to stop, and that's deep. That's very deep in. Turn 1 from Jason Wilkinson. He gets it, stood up on the brakes. He makes it work. He doesn't get his teammate to make it work. Second spin of the day for Barrelon.
Yeah, still trending backwards, and just sometimes you've got to recognise when you're rattled, and you just got to take an opportunity to take a breath and lean yourself in. Lachlan Pryke gets down the inside. I believe that was Aiden Rankin who got down the inside and made a mistake. He's going to switch back across the track, make contact with Josh Holmes, and now lining him up as Jackson Dial to have a go at the rear end of this one. So it's where do you look, I think, at the moment, Sperry, because basically everywhere from about 15 spots further back, there is just biff going on because everyone is getting impatient, recognises that they're probably a little bit faster than pace is right now, and wants to get a hurry on.
They want the hurry up. Caelan Williams, by the way, his penalty has just been upgraded to a 5-second penalty, and everywhere you are going, there is something going on in this group, and this is what we're loving to see. Look at that line there coming through from Aidan Rankin as he looks to attack. On the exit there, got Trent Allen and Alexander Barrelon fighting it up through the S's, and Trent Allen's going to get there. Nick Wood right now in the Vodafone McLaren coloured car out there, the old school McLaren colours there of the late 2000s. Barrelon's going to chuck one up at Xiaomi then to get that, and Xiaomi is not the easiest corner to go and get correct, but he'll now have to try and work the cut back at Bilstein. Very tough corner to get a cut back at.
Yeah, but you're looking for the drive off. If you can get a better set in the corner and started it pointing back and get full throttle, he's trying to line yourself up for a pass down here, looking for the inside, looking for the outside. Trent Allen trying to look for some overlap on Aiden Rankin, checks up the whole pack in behind them. Just about a couple of cars going nose to tail. That was all Constantine effect as they hit the brakes at the tip-in point down there. Rankin's going to tip in around the outside, gets a nose in there from Alexander Barrelon. The long way round. Trent Allen's going to pick both of their pockets. So it was going to be the Ferrari of Alexander Barrelon down the inside of the final corner. He's the guy that doesn't necessarily pop out the other side. Spare, my God, where do you look right now? Because it is literally, we are 13 minutes into this race, and it's cast your eyes everywhere because there is battling going on for just about every position.
Well, I was going to say, let's go up to Harrison Lillis and Byron Pierce. That's actually settled down a little bit, but everywhere in this group is close in the opening 15 minutes, and it's got the feeling here, this 2-hour race, of a 1-hour sprint race out there with no pit stops. That's what it feels like at the moment, and so they're really having to play this game and play this game carefully here. Stadler and McGee then on for 23rd position as they run down the hill into the Goodyear hairpin and look to get out the other side. There is Harrison Lillis in the Acura. Byron Pierce in the Ferrari, and I think they're trying their very best to keep Sean Campbell in range. That gap has explored out to 1.3 seconds, and you can't let Sean Campbell run away. He's too good.
Yeah, once he settles into his work and brings the tyres in nice and gently. So the Ferrari carries itself exceptionally quickly through the corners, but the big thing that aids the Lamborghini is its traction, its ability to just surge off the corners. That'll go away as the rears do start to go away, and then it's about carrying all that mid-corner speed. McGee's still on the struggle, but she's been able to take a breath and settle. And Harold's, this is all about just lining her up. It's not about here. This is about getting you looking backwards. If you get a poor entry here because you're covering something in the rear view mirror, that's about potentially getting down the inside of the final corner, or getting her offline, getting a bad run off the final corner and opening something up at turn 1. You don't look at the chicane unless you've got significant overlap of actually getting the move done. It's about upsetting their rhythm.
Yeah, get yourself to the inside. Stadler's got the run and the momentum. Madeline McGee's better on the brakes, though, and that's going to be a slight bit concerning, isn't it, here, Scott? That you try and make the move, you get the run, you get the speed, you do everything right, but suddenly you haven't got the brakes correct and the pass is made. Just like you see here, pass made for Jackson Dial there on Josh Holmes. So Holmes right now, well, he's under the hammer. Yeah,
starting to slide just backwards a little bit. Dials obviously had an incident on lap 1, so he's in recovery mode as he cuts his way back through the field as well. So again, set your race up. All of a sudden you're backwards, you're down towards the tail end of the field. Is there an opportunity to swing towards a fuel save strategy? Can you gain 15 positions or so because you're going to do this on 2 stops instead of 3? Really, really tough to do. Fuel maximum range here tonight is about 20 laps for every mark. If you can get some fuel saving in, that's 21 per stint. Startler's finally going to get this job done. But if you can extend one of those stints out to 22 laps, you can get 64 in. We're expecting, with pit stops, a range of 63 laps. Potential for 62 if those pit stops get a little bit long, or the fuel saving starts to get aggressive and the pace comes out in front, but expecting 63.
Yeah, very much looking at the fuel, or we're looking at the fuel numbers going, okay, let's see what we can get out of it here and get everything that's possible. Stadler through then on McGee, which leaves Bass and Lawford now as the next two that want to form up in the pack that they have. There have been some quiet drives at the start of this race here, and I actually do want to say that Dean Mackay has had a very underrated start. He's not gained anything off of this race so far, but he's done very well. Biggest move up, Miles Burgess, only one at double digits, plus 12. Another move coming along then over to the final corner. That's Lawford down the inside and getting it done on Ethan Bass.
Finally lining that one up and actually having a crack. Now switch back to the inside, drive down the main straightaway as well. And again, it just takes an age to get a move done around this place. You're side by side for so long. Assisted a little bit there. He's been let go by Angus Lawford, and Lawford's just going, right, there's a time to fight, and that time is not yet. Perhaps he's on a little bit of that fuel save strategy, just trying to open the options up. Again, you get your 22 laps done here at the very start. That means that you can press on a significant amount harder when you get deeper into the race.
And you got to remember as well, if there's any safety car, for example, Scott, for a big incident that happens, that completely changes the way that this race pans out, and the fuel save numbers become very, very different. Track temperature, 29 degrees Celsius out there. It's on the dog walking to egg frying ratio, a little bit too cold for a fried egg. You're going to be standing at the griddle for a little bit too long as you look to try and wait and say, look, I think I might want to take my dog out for a walk.
One of the good things actually about this track is the fast corners actually go both ways. The braking zones and the trail-ins go a little bit both ways. So normally, from a clockwise circuit, you're actually going to find that the left-hand side tyres tend to wear. It's going to be a significant amount more even across the car here as well. So what does that do in terms of tyre selections and what you can normally do? Well, last time out at Barcelona, there was some chatter about left-hand side only on the tyres, then doing full because the tyres were just wearing. There was such long corners, such wide radius corners. You're getting on the throttle, scrubbing fronts, sliding rears, and that's the only way to sort of get it done at Barcelona. Tonight, probably the Caleb Williams' strategy of taking no tyres is definitely on the table. There was definitely a pace loss during Limited last week of those guys who just really wore their tyres significantly more. The OPR cars, I think, tended to be a little bit more on that wearing tyre, so they're all about extracting short run pace as well. So again, all of these little bells and whistles, they start to get thought about, and you put the race together and you put your race smarts together very, very early on, because in about 20 minutes from now, that becomes critical. Can you get to that 40 minutes into the race, an hour and 20 to go. If you get to that marker, your fuel numbers are looking good. You've only got to do that twice more and you're home free. If you get a little bit beyond that 40-minute marker, all of a sudden the 2 final stints get that 1 lap potentially shorter. So that's the markers these guys are looking at. And in terms of fuel burn, you know, it's tricky. It's up and around the 3 litres per lap range, and a little bit beyond that as well. Potential pit stops. Yep, moves.
Lewis, great head there, taking a little nibble with that Ferrari out of the bigger, bulkier Mustang out there. You always get the feeling when you're battling against a Mustang stock like this one here that you're always going to come off second best against it.
It's always growling and yelling and screaming in your face as well, is the other problem.
Hello, Toothless. Look at that one left. Hello, Toothless.
My word, he's up there and he's enjoying things. Actually, Tom Wilkinson and I sat down and played a game of Magic with Lewis Greathead the other night, shuffled our cards up, laid them out in front of us on our desks and enjoyed a little bit of chatter and a little bit of banter. He said to me on that occasion, I'll be getting the webcam out. We'll be displaying this one for the first time in a long time on Sunday night. He's actually genuinely enjoying driving at the moment, challenging himself. You'll be seeing him Monday night in NASCAR series as he's been enjoying the Porsche Cup, just challenging himself and asking you bits and pieces. He's also actually really enjoying, he's one of the 2 general managers over at Million Esports as well, and he's enjoying that role and the people management role, let alone running his own business as well, and then diving down the inside and picking a move off at the same time.
Yeah, overtake was on the stack, no response there, so you go to swing for damage, and look at that, an overtake that is score complete out there. No counter spell available there for Andrew Scordilis, didn't have enough blue mana.
No, I think he was looking for the green mana to tap for a wild growth, and it just wasn't available to him at that point in time. Swing for lethal? Not quite yet. We've still got an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 40 minutes to go. Swing for lethal and a few more combat steps. Might double up in the back half of the race, you think. How many Magic references do you reckon we can get in?
Oh, we can get many out there as far as it goes. So for the moment, Andrew Scordilis, I think, is going to be very happy about this at the moment. And we cater to all audiences out there with our wide spectrum of knowledge that we have available to us. Scordilis in 10th, Zach Kerr on the back in 11th, making it an OPR sandwich on Vermilion bread.
Yeah, and the tricky part is, have a look at the 2 different kinds of Vermilion bread as well. What do you call the red car ahead? Is that going to be perhaps a little bit of rye with some dusting on it, and Zach Kerr in behind the golden car? Well, that's definitely on toast. You know what? I'm going to go with Lewis Greathead's in the toasted machine, Zach Kerr's in the fresh bread. That's such a weird sandwich though. One piece of hot bread, one piece of bread. Oh, okay, there you go. Perfect.
The best 2 condiments to have on your hot dog. But for Scordilis, he'll be going, well, I don't want this sandwich. I want to have this to be double-decker layer out there if I possibly can, but I don't want to be on the bottom because no one likes having a topping on the bottom out there as far as it goes. They've got Lockhart Brownlee on the group as well. Kobe Williams trying to hold close in terms of the pace level that has been available to them. And so now it's all about settling down here as the opening 21 minutes have now scored themselves complete. Zach Rattray White with another purple lap next to his name, 152.607. So the Kiwi is starting to really turn the screw here and say, look, I'm going to stay with David Woods and I'm going to try and stay with him a lot longer than anyone else was able to. Back to Byron Pearce here, and there might be an element of we're going to have to get the hurry up going here, or it might just be a case of, well, we're going to see the top 3 run away. They're already 5 seconds off the race lead.
Get the head down, pin the ears back and see what you're possibly able to bring about. That Acura has been coming back in vogue yet again. Think about how popular it was back in Feb, March for the Bathurst 1000 with the 2 turbochargers on board. Also saw it in operation earlier today with a Honda badge on board as displayed over in Asia. Also quite successful earlier on for the Singer Motorsport Team Thailand entry on that occasion. Harrison Lillis is trying to push that one on. Not holding the brakes penalty. I think that's quite valid for Aiden Rankin as well. There's been some debate, and Race Control have sat and reviewed that one for a fairly long while because there was 2 cases in the penalty for that one. There's effectively the incident itself, and then Rankin sort of let off the brakes and rolled the car forwards and come back across and hit somebody else. That one I think was always definitely going to be a penalty. I didn't see that they took any further action necessarily for the incident that was a part of that one for Aiden Rankin as well. So not confident that they thought that there was enough, and indeed Race Control did actually pop a message in to say no further action to do with that one.
Yeah, I think that's fair in terms of how that's set about. Zach Kerr climbing up the hill then here through the Vidal chicanery over to the Hyundai N-curve to finish off the lap and trying to get this launch around that final corner and along to this main straight, dropping back down the hill towards turn number 1. You've got the roller coaster on the left-hand side, the experience centre that is down on the right, and critically, the Nurburgring holding a very significant place to many a sim racer. I argue that the Nurburgring is the proverbial home of sim racing, for where that was, of course, the home of Sim Racing Expo.
Yeah, and they're off there again. Sim Racing Expo coming up actually in, I think it's next couple of weeks as well, particularly in the United States of America. So, new one. And it was a really, really good first expo as well. Every single time that the expos go on overseas, there's always a lot of chatter in the community. Got the opportunity to talk to a few people that were over there, said they absolutely loved it. So, you know, all we need is just one down here in this part of the world now.
Greg Cook now looking for a way, and yes, there absolutely needs to be Dan Yeaman diving to the inside at turn 3. That will get the job done, and Yeaman looking for a drive. Madeline McGee left the door open. Yeaman tried to oblige, but she said, no, I'm going to shut it as quickly as I opened it. So Dan will turn around, look at that. Scott probably go, rude. I'd like another way through at a different point in time, please.
Yeah, work hard at it. And the door gets shut, unfortunately. That is racing, though. So get the elbows back out and trying to progress your race as it does progress. The thing with this track is that the moves of actually getting the job done are rather difficult around this racetrack. You see Dan's just caught in behind McGee. McGee's just on that struggle bus. Again, the problem for Madeline McGee is she's got to commit either to a 3-stop strategy, come down about now, go and get the fast repair off, and get back to work with that repaired rear end of the car, left and right hand sides of the wing. Also looks like it might be a touch worth of damage in the center of that rear wing as well. But you're taking potentially a penalty on the strategy. If she can make it a 2-stop strategy, she's stuck. She's really, really stuck in terms of the damage of that car. Has to get to the 40 minutes into this race marker, else it doesn't matter.
Absolutely, I agree with you out there. And I will note something else as well, Scott. It's not 60% of the fuel tank available to these drivers. So just take a look. It's 60.0000004% of the tank.
Well, the extra few digits had to be thrown in there, didn't they? 66 litres, I can tell you, was on board and available from McLaren, as it was last week. Only if you filled the tank at the start of the race. Acura NSX is about 67.2 litres available to it. Aston Martin Venom, 63.6, with the no Aston Martins I've seen thus far this week. The Audi, 62.4 litres. BMW, 60 litres. Chevy, 62.4. Ferrari, 62.4. Mustang, 66. Lamborghini, 62.4. McLaren, 66. Mercedes, 63. And Porsche, 60 litres. So a wide variation in terms of the fuel that's necessarily available.
And how much fuel's in your car, Scott?
That depends on if it's the bug set or the set that was filled to the brim. And after a long weekend commentating Bathurst last weekend, I forgot to triple check the tank. And, such it is. Hey, I made the fuel save strategy work. It's difficult when you're 10 litres more saved than everybody else though.
Well, sometimes you got to do it and necessitate it. We saw it in the Porter Esports Super Cup that someone forgot to check their fuel and realised they've got to do a pit stop in a half-an-hour race. It's definitely not what they would have wanted out there. Byron Pierce still looking to chase on down here and is realising very, very quickly that he is stuck behind Harrison Lillis, and that Acura just seems to have the legs.
Yeah, doing quite well in terms of a straight line and trying to put its power down. And that's the thing about it, isn't it? Certainly able to try and put its best foot forward and progress itself throughout the race. And the thing is, at the end of the day, you've got to try to be able to make the pass. And the other thing is, you're also going to try and get the car through the corners. So 2 ways to go about it. You need to have enough downforce to keep the rear end of the car glued through the corners, enough to certainly turn and point it and try and rotate it and point it in the right direction. And at the same time, the more downforce you put on, the draggier it is in a straight line. Where's the best opportunity to make all your passes? On that straight line. Pull alongside, drive it past them, pull it up, park it in front of them, try and drive off into the sunset.
Well, I think that makes a huge issue out there. And so, okay, I'm going to be looking around at that and saying, right, what am I going to find if I'm Lockhart Brownlee in this 12th place? I would be looking at Zach Kerr going, do I want to go inside, outside? Do I want to get the corner the way I want to? How am I looking to get this sorted. I would say with the way that there's been a little bit of gravel kicked up, he could elect to go for the cross-country route.
Yeah, that's not necessarily going to work out too often, though, because that's also going to get the tyres nice and dusty and dirty. And unfortunately, he's got to start thinking about how he wants to get it done. And the thing is, look at him at the moment. There's not really much chatter, not a lot of thinking about how he's piecing it together. At the moment, just sticking it together. That little face in that moment there says to me, unhappy with the way that he's driving right now. And that's one of those ways that drivers can reset themselves as well. Little bit of the tongue poke. Again, reset. One of the things that I got shown a lot when I was getting trained to do motocross when I was younger is you need a reset trigger. It's something they talk about in terms of cricket as well, in between balls. You played a poor shot, you need to walk away, but you've got to let that go. You've made a mistake in the recent past, and Lockhart's lap currently has been poor. You've got to reset. Here comes the move from Burgess.
Yeah, straight to the the outside, and Tyson Broad's got nothing for it. That's 19th now for Miles Burgess, and it puts him up now to plus 13. Broad gets a great run, tries to go back for it, doesn't quite get there. You see how wide Owen Coleman was over that outside curve. You can straddle it, but there'll be certain cars like the Ferrari, for example, that absolutely will not touch that curve with a barge pole. Otherwise, they'll be doing their best rendition of Tony Hawk.
Yeah, don't ride that bump too hard. Don't grind along it. You've just got to set it up. It's challenging to try and get the car pulled up. But like I said, side by side through that chicane, it chokes both cars off for probably about 3/4 of a second worth of time just through that one corner, trying to get through there side by side because you're both squabbling for real estate and there's only really one groove through that set of corners. So you make a mistake at the same time, up and over through the gravel into the wrong sort of place. Last corner as well, up and on that left-hand side. It's much the same when you're going down through the Schumacher S's. It sits itself up, grinds itself across the top of the curbs. Not much more you can do.
Dean Mackay in 6th position, working on, then trying to stay with Byron Pierce and Harrison Lillis. I will note that the race lead gap for the first time has tiptoed over a second here for Damon Woods. So he's slowly been reeling it. It's just come back in slightly, but it goes back out again through Bilstein and into the Falkenbogen. Then for Damon, who will love the Falkenbogen because he sometimes runs for Vulcan Sim Racing. He can be very happy with the pace that he puts in that regard. I am noting Lachlan Pryke now with a 5-second time penalty, Scott.
Yeah, so issues there, and unfortunately for Lachlan Pryke, has not necessarily gone his way. That was the incident massively early on in that race, and now he's just got to put the head down and try and get on with the race. You got a 5-second penalty, do what you can with it. There was actually some discussion during the driver panel. Was a little bit busy, unfortunately, for that one earlier on this week, but I sort of got the quick notes on that one, and there was some discussion. At the moment, the series actually doesn't have a metric or a way to serve penalties throughout the race. The tricky part with that is you get yourself a safety car, you can't serve that penalty. You're stuck with it, and it gets added to your post-race time. So they're trying to come up with a way to move that forward. That's part of the progression and moving forward of a series.
Well, there's many ways to do it. My favourite way of serving a penalty is at the pit stop. You do it at the nearest lane out there. So what you do is you set up a little bit of space in the box and you say, right, you've got to sit there and wait. I believe it's the Ivor way of doing and sorting out penalties, and it's been adopted to quite a lot of endurance-style leagues. Yeah, so, you know, it's here. The way that you want to put it together is either give yourself that penalty box, you add it onto the pit stop time once the car drops down off the jacks, if you're doing a pit stop where the car's always taking tyres and those sorts of things. So, look, I mean, it's whether or not it's going to be consistent, it's handled correctly, because at the end of the day, the drivers need to know that they've served that penalty. They've got to have confidence that they've served that penalty. If you go to serve a 5-second penalty, you're confident you've served a 5-second penalty, and it's not agreed with by race control, and there's no way to very explicitly serve that one and be confident in that result and that ruling, then that's actually a sacrifice, and it's making the series worse, not better. So it's trying to put those moving pieces behind the scenes together. Yeah, tricky moments. And the thing is, rear tyres, where keep your eyes on a lot of the McLarens. The McLarens tend to struggle with that traction late on the stint after they pull their tyres up as well. That was Lachlan Pryke in super slow-mo there, just finding out how tough the final corner is. He's now got Dan Yeaman directly behind him out on circuit. Now here comes the charge along the main straight then for Zach Kerr, looking for a way to get into the top 10 beyond Scordilis, but we'll be looking behind now at where Lockhart Brownlee looks to figure things out. And you can shake your head and say, I'm not happy with the pace, but when you're still +5 for the day, I think you can be very happy with the way that you're going about business.
Yeah, it's putting that race together, isn't it? It's just making sure that you're just ticking things off and ticking that box. And a lot of the guys, sometimes you just get caught up with a car that you know that you've got really, really good race pace in, but you're left sitting there scratching your head and trying to stick the car together, and it doesn't stitch together necessarily the way that you really want it to. And therein lies the issue. And I've got really good race pace in this car, but it's one lap pace, it's 2 lap pace, it's short run pace, trying to stick a qualifying session together. It just doesn't work that way. That leaves you on a back foot and forces you to make ground in the race. You've got to be confident in your abilities, you've got to be confident in your longevity on the tyres, and you've got to be confident in your fuel numbers and have a strategy plan for those sorts of things. And being aggressive. Some tracks, we saw it last time at Barcelona, was so difficult to get past that. So difficult to get past that. And a lot of... both in the limited series and in the open series as well, was very, very difficult. You had to have a significant pace differential. But here, guys are able to get alongside.
Kobe Williams hard into the Armco at the Schumacher-S. He's right there. He's taken the toe immediately. Now I wonder whether race control would have a look at that. He's had a wheel failure there. It snapped hard to the left, and that's why it's all gone wrong for him. So he's had a wheel failure there at speed. And I can't remember a time, Scott, where we keep seeing more and more wheel failures. I think that is an indictment on the manufacturing of simulator wheels over this generation, because it was pretty much a rare occurrence. Now we see one every race.
I don't necessarily think it's necessarily to do with the wheel failure. Sometimes it's just you lose vision. You're not 100% confident with where everything's gone. There's a lot of, at the end of the day, putting together a simulator that's consistent for us to use in these sorts of things is inherently difficult, or else there'd be 30 of them, and we don't. We have a couple of select few that are really up and at that top level. So, look, it is what it is. It's tricky, it's difficult. And the other thing is there's also multiple moving bits and pieces. You've also got to remember at the end of the day, you've got to supply a Logitech driver. They've got to be able to communicate with you. You've got to do one for Fanatec, Moza, Simicube, every single kind of wheel and pedal manufacturer to be able to communicate with the sim, get the data out of the sim, and then translate that through your wrists, through your feet, is not as simple as just going 1 + 1 = 2. Because if it was made, I would go and throw my own brand of sim racing hardware out there. Everyone in the space would be. It's not that simple. And sometimes when things don't talk, they just don't talk, and it's always the worst possible time.
Byron Pierce through a couple of laps ago past Harrison Lillis, and that has now put him into a position of P4, and looking like he's really going to start trying to make everything he possibly can out there in this race, and he can manage to get that one done. Believe it or not here, Scott, into the final corner. We don't often talk about that as a big overtaking opportunity, but it can be. Here's the run, picks it up off the exit, and a little too far out on the curb from Lillis, and he realises a bit too late. Oh, Byron Pierce has got me.
Yeah. And by then, it's just gone, and you're starting to slide back to... That's an early pit stop. Have a look at the time. Remember, we're looking for 40 minutes. That's an early pit stop, and that says Scordilis has certainly been pacey today. Again, I've seen a couple of moves and a couple of little bits and pieces of progress for him, and he's punched into the pit lane a little bit early, 4 minutes early. So the tricky factor is now he's got to pitch this whole race together and stitch it together. He knows that he is definitely on a 3-stop. It's a 2-stop with a splash. What he does with tyres would be a hypothetical question. Did he just miss his pits? I think he might have just missed his pit stop.
That's going to do him no favours here, Andrew Scordilis. I think he's okay. He just found himself in his mark, and yeah, he was fine. Just hit the number. There's another car down in the pit lane as well, showing Coleman, who's gone a little bit deep in terms of the strategy. And I just want to note this point out there at this moment. They're both Mustangs.
So I just went back and had a quick look at it for Scordilis. He was looking for his pit boom, because you've got to remember, or alternatively there'd be something happening on a secondary monitor, or somebody looking for attention. I know I've got my animals that are in and around me whilst I'm in the sim at points in time. So he could have been trundling down pit lane. He was doing about 50-ish Ks an hour. I believe this pit lane speed limit 60 Ks an hour. So there was a little bit of time he was slower than that pit lane speed limit. So a little bit of time lost in the transition phase of the lane for Scorsa.
Morella, though, under pressure from Sebastian Eskandari here in the number 704. And Eskandari, one of these youthful drivers that are starting to come up here in the sim racing world. And you get these drivers who keep getting quicker and quicker and better and better. And Eskandari right now would have been 2 or 3 years ago's Rehan Lianaj, for example. There's always a quick driver coming up, and they're both going to dive. In fact, everybody, with the exception of Byron Pierce and the likes there of Damon Woods, Rattray White, and I believe Sean Campbell, all in. So there's something a little bit desperate about having to come in before drivers ahead of you who are able to go longer. And you know what they say, the drivers who are the quickest are also the best fuel savers.
Yeah, at times. Sometimes there's just a car or a track combination where you just have to carry a little bit more throttle through the mid-corner, and that helps settle the car and rotate the car at the same time. And the problem is, the issue with it then becomes, if you've got to carry that throttle pedal, you cannot fuel save. You've also got to remember, with these GT3s as well, clutches are disabled above 70 Ks an hour. So they're not able to just jump on the clutch and save fuel that way. They are able to potentially, I know the Ferrari has some issues with it, switch the car off and then let it bump start when they switch the car back on. Some cars can do that. Some cars have problems with it. Some cars you've got to bump the starter as well. Multiple different ways you can save, other than just Lyco.
Dean Mackay beats out Harrison Lillis in the stop. Speeding for Ethan Bass is going to cost him time out there, but Lillis got beaten off of pit lane, and I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it's a good stop. Gets it. Oh no, into the back! Scott Lillis. And remember, he went for the undercut as well, and he was on the move, and he's just barely got the nose up and on the rear end of the car ahead. Spins out, and again, like I said, he was on the progress today. He was really starting to make progress forwards, and that little mistake's unfortunately just going to cost him.
Up into turn 2, gets in the back, and we see a lot more of it than we used to, where car from behind makes contact, loses all of the downforce on the front, and it's them who ends up spinning around, not everybody else. About 30 seconds shy of 40 minutes comes in your leaders, Woods, and then Rattray White and Campbell, and Byron Pierce, who is interspersed with Aidan Rankin in betwixt and between him. But now it's going to be a case of, can you get the stop sorted, and how are you working? Kalen Williams, I'd expect to also come down in then in that Acura, and does.
Yep. Next round in, and the critical thing, again, have a look at that timer. 1 hour, 20 minutes, bang on. Now, the secondary half to this as well is that the pit stop carries you through. In terms of our lap distance at the moment for our race leaders, they've gone to the end of lap 21. So they did have to fuel save a little bit of overtaking. It looks like, I think Eli Donaldson was actually able to make some ground on the pit lane entry there. So carries on and on with it.
Yeah, a lot of clearance then that is here. We're going to catch the Scorsa replay. This is down into the pits here. Oh, right on the back of the 72. And then is this going to be uber aggressive then here with Tyson Broad directly in front? Oh, you're going to not get that one too much closer. That is probably about as close as you can get for a stop.
Yeah, well, got to pull it perfectly up on the marks at the end of the day, don't you? And at the end of the day, job to do. I know we were both critical of a number of the OPR drivers last time out as well, just being a little bit aggressive. I said it at some points as well. It's effectively at times the way that the cars generate grip and generate speed is a little bit different. But they were just a little bit deeper on the brakes into the back ends of other cars. We've seen that improvement. Dean's been on this progressive sweep. Again, I talk a lot about Rattray White and Capel, and the reason I talk about those guys is I've had the ability to see them in the back end and developing through a number of series. And Dean Mackay over time has just sort of grabbed himself and drag and drag and drag. You don't do that without doing the background work. You've really got to really work yourself hard. You've got to be invested in the data. You've got to have an analytical mind, or you've got to have a really, really strong group of people that are in and around you. And yeah, like I said, always been happy to see that progress. And I know there was a little bit of bickering and banter and back and forward between the Eclipse guys last season and Dean Mackay, but that's part of racing at the top level. You've got to do everything you can to unsettle and shuffle those guys around you.
Well, if you thought that the pit stop coming in between Tyson Broad and Eli Donaldson was close, Scott, I would love Jay to get a replay of how close they were coming out.
Yeah, brilliantly close. And that's the thing at the end of the day. Remember, at the end of the day, this is effectively a game cross simulation. There are simified and gamified elements of it. Some of those elements are that you have to use 2 cars in one pit room, or if they both go into the pit room at the same time, they both should be serviced. This is what I'm talking about. 2 cars inside of each other. When they pull off in the lane, they're inside of each other, and then they've got to accelerate away. I had some NASCAR buddies test this a couple of years back, and they drove for about 4 laps with the cars inside of each other. There was about 4 of them all trying to kick the cars into lock. So it's one of those fun, gimmicky elements. You can do a little bit with it and have some fun with it. But yeah, it's something unique, isn't it?
It is. You just got to drive a little bit quicker than the car in front. You get ghosted until you get the clearance out, and then that gives you exactly what you need in that regard. So working through the open corner. Good luck down the inside from Lewis. Great head, Tyson Broad. Looks to work around the outside. Now he's going to get the switch back to the inside, but he leaves the door wide open there, and Eli Donaldson finds his way by. I'm not sure whether that was gifted or not.
Could have just been Tyson, just found a little bit of a moment, a little bit of a mistake. The tyres and everything weren't necessarily there underneath him. But he's now dropped him behind, and now he's got work to do. Alternatively, that's just Tyson as well going, I've got a fuel save. I've got to clear this at some point in time. I'm going to do it early. I'm going to clear it early. Could be the other thing, though. Eli could be pressing on a little bit at the front end of this stint. He's going to do his fuel saving later on.
Yep, and when you've got all of the consistency in the Vermilion Esports McLaren of, okay, my car works best when it's full of fuel, that's going to help. Oh, front row seat there to Lewis. Great head, looking very opportunistically to the inside of Owen Coleman. Owen there just had enough wherewithal to keep the steering slightly out of the jar. I think if it was any other 2 drivers, that would have been a big incident. Lovely look there from Eli Donaldson there, that lolling, lazy style of driving. I tell you what, it is all effort, even though how easy he's making it look.
He's really taken the time to just make sure you feed those hands. See the little micro catch? That's the little thing about the McLaren. It wants to shuffle itself about. It's got it quite. Was that Scordilla's? Oh, damn.
He's just looped the back end at Bilstein. He has pulled on a full anchor lock on the brakes, 4-wheel skid as he's gone straight across, and ultimately that's going to cost him more spots. He'll now fall behind Caleb Williams here into 13th place. When it rains, it pours for the OPR Gamma Flare driver. Here's the look going down through the right, and there the back just steps away, and what do you do?
Well, the thing is also, if you remember the moment he had before, it really heats. The way that the tyres sort of modeled, that tyre heat lingers for a long, long period of time, and the Mustang as well, particularly later on in the stints, it wants to get quite swingy on the rear. You've got to, with the way that you attack the setup and the balance of the car, you can take some of that swinginess as the fuel burns out of it with the torque. Here we go.
Lovely. Straight down the inside, project into 6 there. So that's good for Greg Cook as he gets that one by the Whitey's 5 car of William Sapstead there, and saying, look, I'm going to have that one there from Rapid Death. And Madeline McGee, who's been very much involved in the opening stint, she settled down a little bit then. Nick Wood trying to get that McLaren moving forward as well. He's got Josh Hope to try and think about him at this moment. Nick Wood thinking about this one. Not quite there, but give it a couple of laps and I might be able to pick up my run. Miller's starting to look behind.
I believe Sapstead's just been rotated by Greg Cook. I believe they've carried on with it. That's unfortunate because Madeline McGee's been gone on through. But yeah, Sapstead just barely got into the back of Greg Cook on that lap.
Yeah, it was a glancing blow, but you know, you don't need a Snicko cam to see that there was contact there. That much we do know, and very much the case of how that goes. If Australia and Bangladesh can finish in 2 days, that can finish in about 2 quarters.
Unfortunate in the back is what it is. Lane McGee got away from it. The good news is that Sapstead waited. The problem is, in terms of how you administer this as well, is that technically Madeline McGee actually had the spot on the pair of them because she was just sitting there watching them both. So technically they've both lost a fair amount of time. Greg Cook's pulled over and said, I'm sorry. Will Sapstead's pulled over and said, look, I'm sorry, didn't mean to get into you, I've redressed it, but anyway. Aiden Rankin's just had an issue of some description. He might have just had some sort of wheel jump.
That's a screen freeze.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. And the reason he's jumped straight out of it, there's a car around in the bottom of the picture as well. Common. He had a torrid time. His Mustang was doing much the same last weekend in the Winter as well.
What can you do, hey? He's actually had, again, help from Lewis Greathead.
No,
okay, Greathead has been lunging and lunging and lunging, and, well, he's decided, well, if I can't get it done cleanly, I'll do it with contact.
I don't think he was trying to get in there and do it with contact. I think what you'll find is if you're on board, there's a 5-second time penalty, by the way, just for that contact, which is talking about Cook. Effectively, Coleman's stayed on the brake all the way into the apex. So what you'll actually see here is the closing speed. There's sort of a hole that opens down the inside, and as Lewis goes to fill it with the car, it closes, which means it's always. He's in deep, he's in hot. See, there was just a last moment. He's in a little bit hot. The door opened, then the door shut immediately. Like, it's just a half moment. Here's what it is.
But there is an issue with that, as what Richard mentioned right now. He's starting to encroach on the back. Zach Kerr was a lucky strike. All of that is literally encroaching Tyson Ford. The issue with that, Scott, is when you take a look at a move like that and you try and chuck it down, you try to catch the score replay. The worry that you have is you've already had that issue once before and you got away with it. And look, he had to commit late to the left-hand side instead of going all the way to the right. Very brave from Zach Kerr. But if you're going to keep making that move like Lewis Greathead is, you've got to realise and understand the pattern. That door is going to close on you. Oh, and troubles again. Sapstead looping it around, and he's going to be slow on the return. Oh my goodness gracious me!
Yeah, he's in a world of hurt at the moment. And there's some debate about the validity of that rejoin. That will not be looked at safely in a good manner whatsoever. That's probably fairly hefty space for a poor rejoin. See, remember he's had contact just in the recent past with Greg Cook as well.
And sort of,
yeah.
Got in, he's tried to put the power down, but he's still got the tyres dirtied up on the AstroTurf, so that's his first problem. Lights it up in anger and just goes, I want to get out of here as quickly as possible, and does not realise Angus Lawford from Project 36 is on the scene, and then he's got to try and get around that. It is a nightmare scenario, and that is when I think a driver just, I wouldn't say deliberately, but because of the frustration, switches off their brake.
It's tilt. It's really, really emotional tilt. That's where you just stop thinking, you just stop, and you just start acting completely and utterly on instinct, and oftentimes it is the worst instincts that come out, because there's a few different things. Guilt, shame is one of them. Obviously, look at all the egg I've just thrown across my face, the mistake I've just made, but alternatively, man, I'm frustrated with myself for that mistake as well. He's actually going to dive in the pit lane and get a fresh set of tyres, but I think that might have been the last that we'll see of Lewis Sapstead tonight, unfortunately. He's not having a great night.
Take a look from Angus Lawford's perspective here. Mitchell looks like he's about to get a run. Keep an eye on the bottom right corner as the run is there. But look, you can see you're trying to find it. It's all right. It's all right. No, it's not. Right. I'm going to have to abandon ship. And there is the run. Mitchell gets his pass done on Tyson Ford, but that's scary for Angus Lawford. He had to be heads up there.
Yeah, he had to make a very, very clear, very deliberate decision. He chose the one of safety, albeit scuffed the tyres, lost a little bit of momentum, lost ground, and those sorts of things. Worthwhile having a little bit of a discussion about strategy. There's a few drivers have actually made places in the middle of this. Lewis Greathead, by the way, at the most recent pit stop, the challenge for him is he actually took tyres, as did Zach Kerr, as did Richard Mitchum. So all three of the Vermilion Ferraris elected to take tyres at their first stop. So they're a little bit on the back foot, but the race pace is coming to them at this point in time. So you lose time in terms of strategy right now, but you might gain that back later. You might have had a rough opening stint to this race. The other car that has taken tyres is Harold Statler, on board of the Chevrolet down in 26th position at the moment. He's cost himself 20 seconds to take tyres. Lachlan Price for Mustang, as Angus Lawford's having a red hot go for a move here as well.
Wants it, turn 2, Project 36 Lamborghini on Lachlan Bright from Rapid Depth, and he's going to get it, and he's going to not get it, because look at that lunge back at turn 3. Think you got it sorted? No, I'm going to go throwing it back, and you're going to have to work another lap to get there. Heavy over the curb, though, really unsettled, all the way across unsettled. then now brings Angus Lawford the chance then to turn 5 here on the run to the Magic Racing curve. Long way, gets to the inside. Oh, and he gets unsettled again, does Lachlan Pryke right now. He is soaring away at that steering wheel like the world's busiest carpenter.
And remember, we sat and we talked about the top 3 and what makes them so special. Here we go, another reply. Gave the room by Angus Lawford, but there's also gravel on the high side down at the hairpin, and that meant that he just couldn't get the car to pivot back down the way that he wanted to. Had to wait on the throttle. The problem for both of these guys is they both did take tyres. They've lost a little bit of track position, but this is getting a little bit silly. This is really starting to get out of hand. You've got to get on with your job, and the Mustang is struggling with those rear tyres. Really struggling. Was there a bump there, or was that again the rear end getting away from Lachlan Pryke?
Pryke got pushed out of the way there, and I'm sure that he won't be happy with Angus Lawford trying to do everything to get through. Greathead's got 15 seconds worth of penalty, and Sapstead's got 10 for the unsafe rejoin. Up to the Vidal chicanery here, and maybe it will have a chance to settle down again, just not getting the run over the gun. Oh, that's deep. That's very deep from Trent Allen. Gets to the side, brave as you like, not without contact. He won't have a run. Oh, look at that. Lachlan Pryke just sent himself over to the right-hand side, gave him a rub against the door and said, look, I am not happy with you. He almost used his car as a weapon there if it would have gone wrong. But again, Allen's not going to sit back. He's going to dive down to the inside again, looking for the move, and they leave the room, and it's just about sorted out.
Well, the tricky part is, I think Lachlan Pryke would have had a stab at throwing the steering wheel at the corner when he saw Trent Allen coming back for the apex. Trent Allen, by the way, no tyres at that first pit stop, just a big old drink of fuel. And that's why I was sort of talking about what's going on with these guys. Angus Lawford and Lachlan Pryke are both on tyres, but the thing is, they're holding up the pack behind them because they're just going hammer and tong at each other. They're not using those tyres to advance their race scenario. Again, do you take tyres at this first pit stop, lose track position, lose time, but you gain it back later when you don't take it? Well, that doesn't work out if you cost each other 10 seconds. I reckon they have over the last few laps. They're 10 seconds behind Nick Wood, who's the car down the road. They're never getting that back. Harold Statler also took tyres. He is 11 seconds down the road from this grouping. And again, he's not fighting anyone right now. He's showing up the scene, getting the move done, disappearing.
Yeah, running away and realising here that he is going to be very much trying to just get the AITX Revolution Racing car back to where he needs to, 29th place, and getting up the order more and more as this race continues. Looking around at Lachlan Pryke here, looking around at Angus Lawford, saying, look, I've got to get up there, I've got to make my progress and do what I need to do. So there's Joel Jansen's there in the Project 36 Mustang there joining the pack, started dead last and is finding his way up.
Yeah, but also have a look at the speed that he took out of the last lap. It was 3 seconds. It was over 3 seconds he took out of that pack. You do that for 3 laps, there's 10 seconds out of the margin that you need to make up. All of a sudden, the margin that you've taken with tyres, you've now got to make 30 seconds up, not just 20 because of how heavy you're fighting. And that's the comment I'm trying to make. Lawford's managed to finally slot back in behind. The best thing he can do right now is just save his fuel, save his rubber, save his car, and just be a little bit patient. Yes, Lachlan Pryke might be fractionally slower, but what you two are doing to each other in race scenarios is ruining both of your races. Fight it in the last stint. Give yourself something to get there, and that's what I'm trying to get across.
And Angus Lawford trying still to get back at Stadler by the looks of things here, and sorry, I'll correct myself then, we're trying to get back at Lachlan Pryke, who's just gone through on the inside. So Pryke having a very good riposte, saying, look, I am going to go back, I am going to get my move, got it done, up into the Hyundai end curve to make sure that that pass was sorted. And so now it's a case of, okay, well, we're down 12 seconds, and the group now is starting to form a little bit more, and it's making life tough. I do want to actually move away from this and go back up to the 4-car group that we've got here of P5, 6, 7, and P8. Out there, because they're working their way at about 15 seconds off the race lead, but they are having a very good race. Mackay is doing the donkey work at the front, Lilla's happy to follow, as is Morella, as is Escandaria.
Massive moment, and eventually it all come unstuck. Angus Lawford's managed to keep it out of the barriers just, but Lachlan Pryke had a massive wiggle on coming through the Schumacher S's, and it kept wandering, and it kept wandering, and it kept getting away from him. And again, I was talking about managing those rear tyres. It got away from him, and he slid the car once. Okay, you slid the car once, that's fine, you've got to cool it. He slid the car a couple corners later, that heat builds up, that rear tyre wear goes away from you, and it just kept going and kept going and kept going, and he kept driving beyond the limits of the rear tyres. You'll see here, he settled, look at it, just goes.
Oh! How on earth that isn't bigger than that? Lawford had to basically pitch it into a spin with the lightest brush of contact. Scott, I can see why you were so animated with that. You turned into pure packet loss.
Mate, I tell you what, I got packet loss. The sim, everything didn't want to work with me on that occasion. But again, so let's talk about the current generation of GT3 tyre, and there's a little bit of this in it. But you just watch, see how coming off of the hairpin down there as well, the rear end was getting away from Lachlan Pryke then. And again, that surface of the tyres overheated. A little bit of a wobble there, a little bit of a wobble there, a little bit of a wobble there. He had 4 bites at the cherry. And Angus Lawford, mate, somebody get this guy signed up to be a stunt driver after that wheel work. How that did not end up in disaster for the entire pack and potentially the first safety car of the night is anyone's money. He's done a great job to keep that in all those guys. But again, tyres. Go ahead.
You can choose my lottery numbers if you want. That's all I'm saving.
Look, that was all skill. That's not luck, that's skill. That is raw skill. He's dabbed at the brake, dabbed at the throttle, dabbed at the brake. So, look, it is what it is. So, at the end of the day, again, surface of the tyre. I had a long chat, and this was actually directly with Kalen Williams about comparisons to what a GT3 tyre is. You've got to remember, in the real, we're a sim, right? There is limitations of the sim. And this is both of us sort of trying to estimate out what we think is potentially sort of happening within the race car. Effectively in iRacing, the tyre is pressed into the road surface. The only thing that's being modelling, and again, our estimation, we think it's, and this shows up on everything, there's 3 contact patches. You get a left-hand side, a centre, and a right-hand side part of the tyre. The way that we feel the tyre is interacting is that it's the entire surface of the tyre is the contact patch on the right and the bottom. What does that do? Well, the strengths of it is it simplifies the numbers. It means the simulation can operate at a little bit, it's not modelling the entire circumference of the tyre. The benefit of that is performance. Now, again, iRacing, everyone says, oh, the sim doesn't perform well. Yeah, we're on a sim for 2008. Take what you want out of that. We're on a sim potentially from NR 2003. So there's elements of that have been built up and built up and built up. It's a strength and it's a weakness. There are so many different ways to have a bite at the cherry of how you want to model it. What that does do for us is if you lock a tyre, that patch of the tyre is the underside of the tyre, but in iRacing, that's that whole tyre. You lock a tyre in the real world, you take a patch, you put heat into a very specific portion of it. You might feel that 50-cent piece rolling around for a little while longer, but at the end of the day, it's that one slice of the tyre, and therein lies the difference to what we have and what they have in the real world. And again, it was such an insightful. I got an opportunity, you and I was doing some broadcasting yesterday. I stepped around and chatted to Kalen Williams about SRO balances of performances and wing set angles and minimum ride heights, rake angles, turbo lambda pressures, a whole bunch of different bits and pieces. He's so willing to have a chat when you get over there. He drives BMWs over in Europe, and his Spa 24 Hour, he was frustrated about it at the end of the day, but hey man, he's driving real world race cars, and we're here just trying to mimic that damn thing.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and sim racing is the greatest form of flattery to real world racing. We're seeing that here. With
car around the corner.
That's not good, and that is Owen Coleman again, and they are all having to try and avoid. Backs it up, having to get himself to go again, and by the looks of things there, Owen Coleman will be a little bit sheepish with the way that he's gone, because that's not a I lost it here at the final corner, that's a I lost it well before that through the Vino chicanery.
Yeah, and again, another Mustang got away from itself once, got away from itself twice. It's just been working on its own. He's having a really, really tricky night, unfortunate things. Deep in, slide, trying to catch it back up, gets it pointed, and then he's just in deep down here. I think Owen's really, there's something that's out, because that looked a little bit funny. That didn't look like there was another problem other than it was just deep.
Yeah, I think he's just caught the inside curb wrong. He's tried to catch the snap that's come along. That's what spat him out. And then when you're on the grass, the one thing you don't want to do on grass is brake. That's like the last thing you want to be thinking about. So he carries the speed and just lifts off the throttle trying to get it to come back. By the time he's realised he's done that, he's got too much pace. Here's Marina Morella close, but not close enough then to making a move here on the likes of Harrison Liller. So he stays exactly where he is right now in the Simworks sandwich on Logitech GODBM Red, as Eskandari here in the Acura. And we talked about this at the start of the season here, Scott, that everyone's sort of gone for a different car out there. Eskandari, he's also in an Acura, so for one of the few ways that we can say it, can you believe there's two Logitech G ODBM cars that are exactly the same in manufacturer? Oh, that's not good.
That's parked up in a really tricky position.
That's Coleman again.
It's just gone and gone and gone. He's just been asked to hold position. We might be about to get ourselves a safety car that's not in the pit lane window, by the way. But remember back at Barcelona,
I think this might be needed because this is coming off the exit of the Goodyear hairpin. And yes, we do remember Barcelona. We do remember how
it's been called. It just got called.
Wow.
So, and the other thing is, it was in a similar-ish sort of window back at Barcelona as well. And it was basically wait for the safety car to come out and then take tyres. Why? Because all the time you lose taking tyres right here, you're about to gain all of that back, but the field spread and the hard work that Woods and Rattray would have done is about to just be completely and utterly, let's say, eclipsed.
Yes, and for that sense of that, safety car out, everyone's going to come in, and they are going to be short on fuel by roughly about 20 minutes minimum out there. So, Dean Mackay, going for track position here, is going to stay out because he realises this is fuel safe for me. I'm still on a 2-stop no matter what. I'm going to lose the time at the pit stop, but what I'm going to gain right now is time at the front of the field. And sometimes that's what you need, a bit of confidence to say, you're out there at the front. He's the only one who's missed the memo.
Well, he's going for an alternative strategy. I think he might have missed the marker necessarily on this one. Where's the safety car? I'm just trying to grab where that was popped out. I think it's actually down there at this point in time. I'll get you some updates on where that one has indeed popped. No, it's actually been left in the pit lane. Yeah, which is actually the correct decision from a strategical perspective. The tricky thing will be, again, anyone who's desperate to take tyres, you'll slap tyres on, you won't take them to the end of the race. The guys that have already taken tyres, you might kind of be forced to take another set.
Very much might do. And now leaving pits, Zach Rattray White, Campbell given another opportunity to get closer. There's Byron Pierce. And we've got a little bit of news coming in.
Oh boy!
What?
I'm gonna do some double checking. I'll be right back.
Go do some double checking, Scott. Go have a wander, because I cannot believe my Godlin bins. Corey Bennett is out on a set of a wet tyre. There is officially here a 0% chance of rain to come along. Corey Bennett, they've obviously looked down in the garage right now, Scott. They've gone, this W looks very much like a D right now. And I look around at this and I go, well, that won't stop me because I can't read. And they put the W on.
He's definitely struggling for pace on the outlap. Yeah, that's absolutely, that's going to destroy his race. I'll see what I can find.
Corey Bennett then on a set of wet tyres, and I can't believe that I have to say that out here. Dean Mackay has come in a lap later then, so this is probably to get offset out there. So he's making that call. I'm going to get around. Safety car's not out. Try and get myself my tyres, my fuel, and he's looking for a 1-lap offset here at this moment in time. Where he comes out is going to be interesting here, because Damon Woods should re-inherit the race lead here. It should then be a case of follow on forward with it. The safety car is waiting to catch David Woods, and he's gone round again, so the safety car still hasn't gone out. There goes Dean Mackay. Oh, this has been clever. So he gets out, and he's going to get out in third, and he gets out ahead of Sean Campbell. Oh, it's just going to be behind, because you rejoin merge when you come out the pits. Isn't you're out the pits, it's that the blue line when you cross it. So Mackay's going to come out in fourth ahead of Byron Pierce. Now that is really, really well done by Dean Mackay. Get an extra lap, charge around for one performance racing and gain the extra lap out there. That is really huge, and now the safety car is going to have to wait for everybody to come around in order to go and get that out. Corey Bennett has stayed out again on that set of wet tyres, as he's now going to encroach on what the safety car is in front. And key to that then is going to be, I wonder whether he's just taking this time under the set of wet tyres to then come back into the pit at a safe point in time just before the restart, get himself a set of dry tyres on, and maybe that will give him less stop over towards the end of the race. It's a way of not burning a set of the dry tyres out there. It's something that you would see maybe more in the F1 games, for example, when you don't want to burn in qualifying a set of dry, soft or super soft tyres. So you decide, you know what, I'm going to go to a set of wet tyres, then to do my size laps out there just to put some rubber down on the circuit. To me, it comes across as something very similar out there, and we're just getting word that the backup safety car has had to be used because the first safety car obviously has run into an issue out there. But no, Corey Bennett is going to come down into the pits because clearly it's far too dry, ladies and gentlemen, for wet tyres to be used. Who would have thought it out here at the Nurburgring here today? So Damon Woods has the control of the field. Zach Rattray White in second and Sean Campbell third. Dean Mackay then in fourth position ahead of Byron Pierce, with Madeline McGee deciding to stay out. She now goes up to sixth ahead of Marina Morella and Harrison Lillis, with Sebastian Eskandari now ninth, and Harald Stadler also staying out, or having made the stop very, very early, now in that 10th spot. So we are seeing those difference makers here in terms of where everybody has set themselves apart and said, okay, I am very happy with the way that this is going. Just getting word of Jordan Mazzaroli. First time we've actually talked about him today, getting on to the radio with race control. So I'm quite sure what's happened there for Jordan as he has gone around on the circuit. I think he feels okay. No tears to say nothing about. I'm going around and not having a problem here with Project 36 Lamborghini that is making its way around. So will rejoin to the back of the group, is one lap down and looking for that wave round to get back onto the leading lap, then in 35th position, and that will certainly do a good amount of work, as all drivers are to go to the left-hand side of the road. That will now give them the opportunity to allow the lapping process to take its hold, and this is just going to bleed that time away here under this safety car window. Give them a little bit of time just to think and reflect, and really it's been a story of this race from the front of the field's perspective, where David Woods has just slowly inched away. He knows how quick he is at anything that he sets his mind to. He has been a little bit sore, I would say, along with Zach Rattray White on the ego, and they keep seeing what the likes of, say, Dane Warren has been able to do out there in the world of the Porsche Esports Super Cup, but they've still got really good pace, and they've still got opportunities to go and prove that here at what is a very technical circuit around this lovely, lovely track. So ultimately, you turn around and say, well, hey, look, I'm looking to try and get as much information as I possibly can. I do know and understand that Scott has actually found himself over to the Team Max Boost garage at this moment in time, currently talking with Madeline McGee over the radio to her at this moment. So there's definitely a sense that there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of conversation that needs to go. Speaking of the devil, welcome back here, Scott. I just noticed that you're over in Team Max Boost.
Yeah, I was just having a chat to Madeline. It was a little bit of a discussion about what she's trying to do with the rest of the race. She said, yeah, look, it is what it is. Got the fast repair done. We've got some speed underneath the car at the moment. Electing to take a little bit of an advantage on the strategy right now, it's one stop to the end. And that's basically what she's thinking about, shuffling herself further towards the front. And at the end of the day, she was on the back foot, she was going backwards, had damage on the race car, it was not necessarily going her way. The tricky thing she did say to me was, I haven't taken tyres to this point in the race, and the reason I'm saying that is everybody in the field that can look at a pit stop will know that one, so I'm not giving away anything. But she did tell me something interesting about her stop and what she's thinking about. I'll talk to you after that. I won't give away the cards, but I'll have a chat to you about what went through her mind with her final pit stop coming out.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to make the difference out there. Did you manage to get word with Corey Bennett on why he went out on the set of wets?
Mistake. That was a bug. He reckons it was a bug. He said on his screen they were set to dries when he entered pit lane. He come out and the things had grooves in them, and he said, yeah, look, the car was already tracking like a dog. It was a tricky setup to drive to this point in time. So look, it just made it even more of a handful. So he genuinely. He'll have another look back at the data and everything after the race and double check it for what's going on. But at the end of the day, yeah, it wasn't. He thinks it a bug. He doesn't necessarily think it's a mistake on his part. All racers will say that though. So, additionally, I also got an opportunity to chat to the Orbit Drop Bear boys.
Oh, check up. That was not brilliant there. About 7 or 8 back there around Stadler and Eskandari and Harrison Lillis. We nearly had an Orbit Drop Bear triple stack out there on the run. They all hit the brakes, and Marina Morella, I think, was caught out by Madeline McGee, and actually how much there was slow up there from Damon Woods as race control or the safety car pulled away, which has now allowed for this restart. So just outside the window here of one pit stop to the end, or no pit stops then, as we get back to underway here in this race. Damon Woods clear with 47.5 minutes to go. Not the best restart there from Sean Campbell, and it has created gaps through the top 6. No shocks to see McGee there. All the way to the pit wall goes Dean Mackay with Byron Pierce. Pierce trying to pinch him down low. Look at the tyre weaving that's being done in the background. Lunges down the inside. McGee under threat and probably is going to lose out here as she's stuck on the outside. Morella just doesn't get drive, and still fighting here is Mackay, who's going to lose out.
You've got to try and find your way through this and navigate it, certainly with some pace and with some potential. And Marina Morello get down the inside. Something's just happened to Sean Campbell as well, as he's trying to get those tyres warmed up. Now it's going to be Marina Morello who manages to cut his way through. Now it's spinning down deeper in the field as well.
Lachlan Pryke is one of them, and that is the wrong way for Danny Davis. He's got to be very careful. He's gone that far back. He could get disqualified for it. Has a penalty flag against his name for a slowdown. He's got that sorted, but that could have been a disqualification for Danny Davis if he wasn't careful. Eskandari now in the big scrap right now. Madeline McGee going backwards, stone cold dropping here out the front. Lights flashing from Eskandari down the hill into the Goodyear hairpin, and just like that, there goes one and there goes two off of the exit. And now here will come Stadler looking for a way through with Miles Burgess there just behind. What a day for Miles. He looks for a way to the top 10 from 32nd on the grid.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about cars that qualified well, that we're going forwards. Obviously, he's making it work for himself at the moment. No tyres necessarily being taken on board the car number 193 for Burgess. He's going to try and get the elbows out. McGee is struggling on that older rubber at this point in time. She's desperately trying to hang on to what she can. Stadler's had to get the elbows out. He's at the start, going to move on now. Have a look at now as Zach Kerr's going to line up and try and navigate Miles Burgess as well. Kerr, another one of those cars. The legs are not to take tyres. A little bit of a lifting coast now for Miles Burgess. It'll be a long, long way to go. I think there was Sinetco that got involved there. They were side by side, but that should not have unloaded the Ferrari in the manner it did.
There was contact between them. It's the tip up the moment that Zach Kerr turned to try and take the apex, and that's what's put him scattered across the kitty litter and trying to get this back. Kayla Williams now also in positions here to try and look around and say, I want to get through. But look at it, it's a swarm of Orbit Drop Bear cars that are fanning almost to 3 wide. Try and get it through the opening sector here. Painful then watching Brownlee here. There's Burgess, there's Williams, there's Gillis. Great head trying to get back at Yeaman. Richard Mitchum, Eli Donaldson. It's a who's who right now in the middle, and it's getting very, very scrappy.
Yeah. The thing for Caleb Williams as well is he's trying to get on with his race and do what he possibly can. Still trying to catch that car back underneath and score. Dillis has taken tyres in the most recent pit stop. He's going to cut his way through. So it's the guys that got tyres who are starting to make that impress. And have a look at the Danny Davison move down the inside. Did he lose his own? Was there perhaps just a little bit of a contact? And that car's unloaded itself. The problem is, remember what we were thinking probably just over an hour ago, an hour and 15 minutes ago, about how chaotic this race was to start. There's going to be a lot more of that as the field's back together.
Yeah, Dan Yeaman finding himself on the outside in that Chevy Corvette, trying to get that one to climb up the hill and run away, and he was definitely doing so. Now we'll take a look at this here with Zach Kerr and Miles Burgess, so he just looks to tip it in, and it looks like that contact is him turning over the front of the nose.
Yeah, this is what it is. It's unloaded itself. I wasn't 100% certain. The view that I had, and the angle that I had, there was a little bit of daylight. And the thing is, when the replay and that sort of stuff updates itself, brings those replays and those cars a little bit back together, you get another opportunity to have a look at that sometimes. So you will also get, it needs to be noted, different replays from different angles as well. Sometimes the cars look like they are right next to each other. Sometimes they actually are making contact. A lot of different stuff. A lot of check cups as well, up and down the field, and you just saw that from Miles Burgess's perspective as they got into the chicane. We saw that early on. When you're packed up, the braking point for the car ahead of you, you might be able to carry a little bit more entry speed, and that car can't. It just cannot carry the exit speed, but its middle off speed is really, really strong for that chicane. For a lot of people out early, it's doing the same again now.
Yeah, Miles Burgess realising here he is going backwards, and Richard Mitchum wants his way to go through. And look at it, oh, it's going to get busy down behind, because that is stacked up behind right now, all the way to Jackson Dial trying to get through Josh Holmes. That trade all the way back to Corey Bennett, fortunately on the second try once again, but we don't have a battle pack graphic big enough for this one, I don't think, Scott.
You've got to include the whole field, I think, at this point in time. Jay's certainly going to try and wind it up and see as many people. Dan Yeaman and I tested it a number of years ago in the V8 Vet series, and gets up to about 21 cars.
Oh, and that was nearly the move needed there for Richard Mitchum, who's still stuck up. There's Jackson Dial still trying to keep his push, still trying to go through, but look at this here. It's a, 16-car battle right now for 17th spot, and they're all checking up down into the hairpin. Get a bit of side-by-side then, trying to work through on the exit. Oh, pushed out Ethan Bass there. Curtis Bird looks like he's going to pick up a couple for it, and suddenly it's not a 60-car fight anymore, it's a lot less.
Yeah, the tricky part is Ethan Bass has already had contact. He's already had a speeding on pit lane entry. It's just not going his way. Now he's going to get blocked aggressively. Well, I think it was Jackson Dial. It was in the Project 36 Lamborghini that just blocked him all the way to the apex then as they get through this chicane. Now out the other side, and again, there's going to be another car alongside. Two Mustangs will try and put the power down between two each other. Bass is not happy. He is definitely hot under the collar. When I checked in with them not too long ago, so he's struggling at the moment, trying to work his way through this race. The problem will be Curtis Bird was looking for a way to try and shove the nose in down the inside. Again, Sperry, where do you look? Now it's going to be Zach Kerr, who's a little bit hot under the collar after his rotation. He gets back to the inside. He picks that spot up. On with the race you go.
And then you've got Gordon Barrel on side by side here down the main straight. They're going to be thinking about where they want to go. Varela dispatched on by Harrison Lillis on a scrap for position. So they're still moving about. They're still gaining places here. The two wides continue on then through the opening corner. And, well, it sorts itself out in that secondary group. But here in the tertiary, it's going to be a case of now Trent Allen having himself a little bit of a party here for AITX. Jason Wilkinson making progress and jumping through it. Now it's Corey Bennett's turn to the inside. A lot of blinking from Danny Davis.
The tricky part is, again, remember how I said I think you've got to take tyres at the safety car? I think you did. There's a lot of cars, and Miles Burgess probably wanted to zero in on. He was up and inside that top 10. He's fallen to 20th spot. Such is the difference that the early run of the tyres certainly have. He's just getting absolutely, he's the cork in the bottle. Every car is basically catching this train, queuing up behind him. And he had pace. He was on the improve here tonight. That's the difference right there between fresh tyres under a safety car. So there'll be a bunch of guys that'll watch this one back at the end of tonight's broadcasting that are in the race here tonight. They'll look at that car and the safety car and go, that did not necessarily work. The other thing, they'll go back through it, they'll pick apart both of his stops. If he didn't take tyres at the first stop, he needed to take them there. If he took tyres at the first stop, he was in a bad spot. He had to sort of go the other way, but it's not worked.
Let's watch this. This is on board with Sean Campbell in the Lamborghini there, the number 26 gridandgo.com esports machine into turn 3. He tries to turn it in, and the back steps out. Needs quick hands to get that back, but that's all you need to see the top two run away.
Yeah, and that's it, job done, and from there on out, you sort of stuff. I said I did actually get an opportunity to have a quick chat with Sean Campbell, and I said, mate, do you want to make any train references for the broadcast?
Watch out, here comes Byron Pierce, straight down the inside. I'll get back to that point in a moment, but Byron looking for it, but he's not going to find it exactly what he wants. Sean Campbell gives him just enough room in that Lamborghini, just about shuts the door with the nose. There, just being scraped across there from Pierce through turn 3. That was a chance.
It was. The door opened momentarily and then it closed again. He is in struggle street tonight, Sean. This is not his best work. And he said as well, I was building this set, it was late, it was about a 4:30 a.m. doc that I threw together to throw on that car tonight. Not happy with it. I said, mate, here's your opportunity. You could make a train reference for the broadcast. He loves himself some Transport Fever too. Was actually sharing some information with him about that at, a few days earlier on in this week, and he said, yeah, look, here's my reference. It's not on rails tonight.
Might not be on rails, but what it will be is just trying to plough on regardless. So I would say you've not got a train, you've got a tram.
I don't even think that. It's just heavy, it's boaty, it's not going the way that he can, he's not maximising the track, he's just, yeah, the thing's just on real struggle street. It's, I would estimate an element of that is probably the Lamborghini and remember we were talking about it big on traction. Well, there's not a lot of slow corners with traction zones off. It's all long, really flowy corners in a different way to Barcelona. So its time will come, but its time's just not here tonight.
No, not here, not right now, but maybe the American tracks for the American native could be a big difference maker in terms of how he wants the season to come back towards him. Byron Pierce there in that 4th place, understanding that he's got himself a really good day to go and get what he wants from it. So keep an eye out then. Josh Holmes then getting on to race control. He's not a happy camper at the moment. As we've got takers now coming into the pits.
Yeah, so we've hit that window, right? Anyone that was on the backward slide has now hit their pit window to get home. It'll be a long stop here. Fill the thing absolutely full of fuel. Again, like I said, it's not worked out for Burgess. It's not worked out for a whole bunch of these guys that didn't take tyres. Right, let's get a fresh set of boots on it. And let's get down and after it. And I dare say from Madeline McGee, she'll be in the same boat shortly.
She will be, and she's trying very hard here against Lockhart Brownlee, who will get the drive, and Lachlan Cable, I think, is going to try and get that as well. Stuck on the outside, too wide behind between Caleb Williams and Lewis Greathead as they run into turn 5, trying to run around the outside. Lovely stuff. Inside's going to be commanded then and taken by Lachlan Cable, with Lewis Greathead staring at Caleb Williams saying, I've got that one under lock and key, what have you got? Another pass that finds itself complete. Andrew Scordilis waiting patiently on the back.
Yeah, there's another car diving itself in aggressively. It was Lewis Greathead's trying to get towards Madeline McGee. Right, you got yourself free. You got yourself a little bit of clear air. Stadler's one of those cars. It has worked out for him not taking the tyres, not taking the long pit stop. But the reason for that is his most recent pit stop 20 laps ago. He did take tyres at that point in time. Didn't stop under that one. That's why it's worked out for Stadler. Whether or not he elects to take tyres in his next pit stop, that'll be a little bit of a debate. For McGee, it probably has worked out in terms of the tyre debate compared to all those other ones. And the reason I say that is all the queuing and boxing on that was going on behind it, well, it has started to trend in this direction, and everyone's definitely corking the bottle still behind her, but she's not been as aggressively bombed. She's not lost as much bulk time yet. Now she's going to come up with a plan to get to pit lane, because I reckon she's maybe got 2 laps of fuel at most. There's Stadler.
Yeah, comes in and makes the stop, and also Jackson Dial gets 5 seconds worth of time penalty. There you can see the differences. Stadler there, 21, and well, this will be the stint home to the end. I would say another one, I don't know, 21, that would
rotated.
Be... Oh no.
That was at the bottom of that shot. All that smoke was Madeline McGee in contact at turn 1. I think it might have been Lewis Greathead again.
Greathead's been lunging down at turn 1 all day long. The one issue that he's had, every time he's lunged down, he's managed to catch the rear quarter of whoever he's trying to get by. And so, that's not going to work.
That's frustrating to Scorsa. He's just got in the back end of the car ahead as they got that car stuck up on it. It's just unloaded itself, unfortunately, for that mistake. So, yeah, he's just, look, when it rains, it pours, right? I think it's absolutely pouring. Probably better would have hoped it would have been pouring. There's the moment at turn 1. Because he would have been on the right tyre for that. It didn't work out for him.
No, really didn't. And as such, that puts life very tough. But then Dillis here, and I wonder how much of this is trying to understand just how long of a body that Mustang has when you reach the front. It's got a very different say to the Ferrari, where you're sat quite far up in terms of where the cockpit is. That's got a lot of engine it's got to have.
Yeah, there is an estimation of that, but you know, the thing is, you get used to that. You do a lot of laps in these cars, you do a lot of feeling it, you get a picture for exactly where that is. Watch, this is what, again, the handiwork. Watch the hands. We highlighted Sean Campbell's handiwork, I think it was, last time out, just how smooth he's feeding it in. Keep your eyes on Ratcho White here. A little bit of a discussion. And again, the face is really blank. He is very, very focused up. A little bit of a look at the fuel calculator, a little bit of a thought about what he's going to do and plan and prepare for this lap. Feed the hands at it really, really nice and slowly. Rotate it back out and around. Pivot it on. Get your eyes on. New fastest lap of the race for Damon Woods right now. I reckon someone's just told him there's a camera pointed at his face and somebody's looking at him.
Well, I would say he's Zach Ratchray wearing white at the moment. White gloves, white shirt, white belly pad. He's got everything right now.
Mate, don't get any dust in there, and I hope the dog's locked down soon.
And Dean Mackay here, losing out. Eskandari now up to the top 5. Look at Morella side by side with Lillis. Oh, no room between them as they run towards turn 5 here. Harrison Lillis just about having to get the elbows out to go and get to the fence, and it was a lovely pass. He just lulled into that sense of, can I go and make that move? And then it was beautiful from Eskandari, late as you like. And I'll tell you what it looked like here, and it's the sort of move that I see from drivers like Max Verstappen opposite here, Scott, that you just know a real-world driver drives differently.
Yeah, they do. Eskandari's actually just come back from a trip over to Europe and a Formula 4 test with Rodent, an opportunity to jump on board some hardware. He's doing everything, the family support and everything's nuts for him at the moment to try and drive himself through. He's been climbing up through the Formula 4 ranks in New Zealand, and opportunities, when you kick the door down in the right places at the right time, the opportunities come. But at the end of the day, the kid's only 13. He's got a lot of growing up to do, but he's already taller than most adults. He's very long, he's very thin, he's very lean, he's very lanky. And that makes getting into a Formula 4 car quite difficult. Mackay's eventually abandoned that plan. He's going to get his final pit stop of the night done.
Yeah, so he's coming, hit the marks, 60 kilometres an hour on the lane. You have to traverse in at your speed, and Zach Ratchray White with the fastest lap then of the race at 52.5 in the back pocket. Why not? Tyson Broad now looking around at his battle, saying, look, I'm going to want to get myself in. Nick Wood side by side then, this just inside the top 20 with the languishing Scordilis.
Yeah, still trying to do everything that you possibly can. At the end of the day, you've just got to focus on, oh my word, in the background there's a massive old dive bomb by Ethan Bass. He was desperately trying to get down the inside of Angus Lawford, and he just barely got it pulled up. He's finally going to complete this pass. Yeah, the tricky thing is, you basically, as a race car driver, you've got a whole bunch of levers. Yes, there is talent and that sort of ability to get the pass done, but sometimes that difficulty rating for trying to get past them is so high. You've got to lean on all the strategy levers. Some people it has worked out for, some it hasn't. And look at how deep he is. He's definitely hardened the ABS there. Pulls up out the other side. All credit to Angus Lawford. He's given him more room than he deserved. Lawford absolutely should have pitched him tight, ran him tight, and would have probably snuck that one back away, but he's actually cutting a break there. Angus Lawford's actually cutting a big break.
Oh, we got 3 wide off the exit down here, and it's Eli Donaldson losing out to Tyson Broad and Alexander Barallon. Somehow they were all fighting. Eli had a little bit of contact through the middle, and Barallon barreled in a mile away and said, yoink, I'm taking those two, and I am getting my night done just like this. This might be part of the race. Look at that.
I think it was that little mistake from Eli Donaldson, wasn't it? Ran in a little bit higher, ran it all the way around the banking. But at the end of the day, 3 drivers entered the corner, 3 drivers walked away from it. All 3 had to work together to walk out the other side, and all 3 did.
Jackson Dial back here in 29th, looking for a way to hold on to this position against Josh Hogan. And David Wilson in the fastest lap of the race as they push on. This would be the sort of time where I'd love a spotter in my ear, Scott, and I'd love to give a moment here for spotter watch out there, because Lachlan Capel's got Tom Wilkinson in his ear, Harrison Lillis with Sam Blacklock to help him out. William Sapstead, who's down on the lane, would have had Kevin Norman to help him out over the course of the race. We know Aidan Rankin's out of the car and out of this race in its entirety. Jordan Mazzaroli's got Alan Mazzaroli to go and help out, and then Jason Wilkinson in the 912 has Jordan Dakin to help.
Yeah, and all it is, and you've got to remember, for a big group of cars that are all working together with a spotter in their ear, not only is it directly for one person, that spotter is also available to anybody else on that team. So you can say, for any of the Orbit Drop Bear boys, you can say to both Tom Wilkinson, to both Sam Blacklock, hey, I've just had a little bit of contact in the front left corner of the car. Can you give me some feedback on if there is damage? Quick look, yes, no, carry on with it, and then immediately a tweak of the strategy. Hey, I'm not quite sure where my fuel window is at. Here's what I'm seeing. Here's what my software's telling me. Can you double check those numbers for me? And that just gives you that confidence as well. A lot of times you can be a little bit nervous on yourself about driving to a fuel number and you go, I don't think that's necessarily quite right. Somebody else does the math, checks it out for you, then you've got confidence in that number, or you've got a new number to drive to. And that just really takes that load away from the driver.
Off the exit, Lewis Greathead gets 10 more seconds of penalty as Wilkinson loses out the spot there to Joel Janssen, who looks to try and hold it round the outside. You need a bit of confidence here on the brakes into the next right, and still Wilkinson trying to hold his ground, but unfortunately a close shave is all it's going to be for Wilkinson out there at that point in time. I just want to point Eskandari found half a second on the last lap over Pearson Campbell, and another 0.4 of a second on this lap, Scott.
Yeah, and they're battling away and certainly holding each other up at the moment. So he's got an opportunity to try and skate on through. He's very confident, is Eskandari, very self-confident, very, the term I believe is self-efficacy, where you just have the confidence in yourself to go out and get that job done. A little bit of chatter and back and forth with him and his achievements over this year. Obviously, we've just covered the stuff that he's been doing recently in the real world. But also, there was a lot of debate about how aggressive he's being and how much he was trying to really step himself up. And sometimes it swings and roundabouts. Sometimes you step up and you're too aggressive, but then you back off and you're too passive and you let things go. So he's in that learning process of trying to be more confident in himself. But mate, the kid's 13. He's up here in and amongst these guys. I can tell you, I've got gaming consoles that are older than this kid. Mate, he's 13. He wasn't around for the first Xbox. You might never have seen a PlayStation 1. He's never seen a PlayStation 2. Mate, the kid joined iRacing at 7 years of age. Like, he's been on here and he's been racing for a long, long period of time for only a 13-year-old. How good is that? We talked about, there's been some discussion about, the new versus the old, the guys that are starting to walk away from the sim that have been at the top end at the time. This is another evolution of those drivers walking through and starting to show themselves at the highest level.
Scott, he doesn't know a world without Minecraft being not
That's wild, isn't it? That's absolutely wild.
8, 9, 10th, 11th, battling on then at this moment in time with Lockhart Brownlee, Lachlan Cable, got Caelan Williams and Lewis Greathead then. So Lockie versus Lockie out there at this moment. David Woods again another fastest lap and pulling away. And actually I do want to point this out here in terms of where they stand in this third place group. 8 seconds off the back now here of David Woods and Zach Ratchway White. Is this a tactical, I am desperately trying to fuel save moment here from Sean Campbell? Not aggressively, but enough to say I want to get an extra lap out of it.
Give me a sec, I've got some work to do. I'll go see what I can find. I did see him lifting off quite aggressively down into turn 1 just before. But if they're in fuel save mode, the whole fuel's in fuel save mode. Yes, he's cracking the throttle a little bit early, but he's not aggressively fuel saving, shall we say. He's just cracking the throttle a little bit early and getting onto the brake. And he's just trying to, I think it's about stabilizing the tyre temperatures across all 4 corners of the car, not driving it to its deep, making sure, again, go back to that knowledge about the tyre. Any slip slide on the tyre, well, it's the same thing. You get into the ABS, that spikes the tyre temperatures as well, and then the pace just falls. So there is an element of fuel saving that comes with that, but it's also to do with the fact that that's just the best way to drive the tyre at its current moment.
On the brakes, Xiaomi corner. Heading over now for Bill Stein, the right-hander with 25.15 on the clock. Eskandari is third in the train. A Podium in his sights with Harrison Lillis and Marino Morella in tow just directly behind him. So he's realising here that he's done the easy thing. He's caught up to them, but now he's got to do the difficult thing here, Scott. He's got to pass them, and so too does Byron Pierce, who's been locked right now onto the rear of Sean Campbell and hasn't found a way yet.
Yeah. the other thing that you can do is you can start going aggressively after the fuel saving. You've got two guys punching that hole through the air ahead of you. If they're going to fuel save, you've got two ways about going about it. You fuel save more aggressively because you're behind them and you're being turned around. Was that a liftoff? That was a major liftoff on the way down to turn one. So he's caught these guys and going, yes, I'm going to aggressively fuel save here. I'm going to try and run longer. It's not about... Everybody has one stop left to do in this race that has not pit since that 40-minute marker. It's about shortening that final pit stop. It's got nothing to do with eliminating a pit stop. You can't do it. It's too far to go. It's about making sure you're static for the smallest amount of time. And two guys punching the hole through the air means you're getting that double draft. It's a lot easier to lift off and not lose time.
That's where Eskandari, I think, was trying to push so hard to get up there so that he could save the fuel now in the final stages. But you are playing this trade-off here, Scott. How much am I saving fuel to how much am I actually losing time by attempting to save fuel?
The problem is, in a battle pack like this, attempting to go for the overtake is going to cost you more time. But you've got to commit to that strategy early when you're trying to do it. If you arrive on the scene...
Oh, trouble! Donaldson and Scordilis, big smack into the barriers for Scordilis. And if he doesn't get that one out the barriers here, we might be seeing a safety car. He does get that one driven back around, but that is just a culmination of a horrible, horrible night for Scordilis in the One Performance 144 Mustang. Yeah,
and there'll be two cases to serve for this one, and I guarantee you're going to need a replay to have a look. And you've got to remember that this corner is actually a little bit more of a late apex. It really comes back and around at you, and you enter it from this left-hander. So Scordilis is trying to set up the overtake on Eli Donaldson. Really good speed carried through the left-hander, gets down to the apex. He sits at the apex. This camera angle's not really going to show it, but there's too wide there. And the problem is you can carry on the exit of that corner all the way and up onto the curb. Well, the rulebook says you can't. You've all times got to leave a car's width to the white line. The white line is how we're ruling on this one, and that sets the standards for everybody to go racing. And the problem I've got there is, has Scordilis left racing room to the usable race surface on the track? Thumbs up, tick. Yes, he certainly has. Has he left room to the white line of the racing surface? No, he hasn't. And if race control look at it that way, they're going to get the penalty of Scordilis.
It's going to be very nasty whichever way it goes. Great head then, was able to slow it up under braking then compared to Lachlan Cable. Looks behind at Caleb Williams, who wants to make that Orbit Not Bear cars in a row then as they look to work towards turn 5 and the Paget Racing curve of turn 6 through the left. And one of the most unique corners in motorsport, the drop down the hill, and how aggressively at the Paget Racing curve it drops down the hill. It's not as aggressive as, say, a corkscrew at Laguna Seca, but it's still enough that makes you think, wow, what a corner.
And again, it's just little rises, little falls, little crests, and it's naturally built into the landscape here at the Nurburgring as well. But the thing from the onboard shot there from Caleb Williams as well is you can see when we come back down through there, how much of the runoff area and the aqua coloured curbing on the left-hand side that he's using, that's usable race surface. You want to use all of that. You use all of that. You're effectively extending the track width, and that's what Scordilis is trying to do. He's basically saying to Eli Donaldson in that previous incident, you can use that space, go on and use it. And Eli's punched him a little bit and this is where letter of the law meets spirit of the law, and the problem is you've got to rule one way or the other, and the spirit of the law tends not to win out because you've got to go by letter when you've got a rule.
Yeah, letter of the law. Oh, look at Caleb Williams who's all of the curve there on the outside. That was very much a case of I was got my eye out up there. As Eskandari sitting there in that fifth spot. We're keeping an eye out here. 53 flats they were doing, 52 nines then around 52 eights and 52 nines all around, and they're about half a second a lap slower than the cars in front of Lillis here, sitting back there in 6th place, having a look.
He's bunching up right on top of them as well. And again, it's just going to be about who can eke this fuel as much as you possibly can. Going back to the numbers from the press of the night, remember, the Acura's got the largest fuel tank of any car available to us here tonight. 60% of the entire fuel tank of an Acura NSX, a Honda if you're over in Asia and the eastern parts of the world, 67.2 litres. What you do with that is the other estimation. Is the Acura potentially able to be fuel efficient with up to a 7-litre advantage on the Porsche and the BMW? I don't think we actually got the BMWs in the field here tonight, but on the Porsche, there's been a couple of Porsches. Yeah. And that's because Byron Pierce made a mistake. Well, yeah, is 7 litres worth of fuel enough to make it home on fuel? And that's Harrison Lillis behind Eskandari. So Eskandari got checked up, and Lillis went, okay, cool, I'm just going to fuel save all the way in there. That's another 50 mil, 100 mil worth of fuel that goes in my bank.
And Sean Campbell's taking one look at this and gone, cool, I'm just going to walk away now.
For Sean, he could have cleared, so you got to remember, maximum fuel burn and minimum fuel burn and what you can save. At one point, you tick over to the point whereby you have, no matter what you do, you're only going to get 7 more laps out of the tank, let's say, and that 7 laps might be 24 litres. How you stitch that together, if it's 3.1 litres or it's 3.2 litres a lap, you get the same mileage out of it. So you save enough fuel to burn the extra lap off, time to disappear, and sometimes you just break in that toe.
That's the key. Yeaman's there. There's big moves going on though for it, and Eskandari's looking for the pass here. He's on the outside now. He's trying to open this one up off to the exit, get the drive then up the hill. He looks, oh, that's brave down to the inside, trying to go there at turn number 2 of the AMG Arena. That's not going to play out the way he wanted to, but Byron Pierce, reactionary rather than being proactive. I'm liking this more and more for Eskandari than Byron Pierce. He's having to be very cagey in the 560.
Yeah, but did you see how much more Eskandari was able to pivot that car back through the AMG Arena before they get to the right-hander on the way out? Before we get down here, the good Sponge gets to the inside. The door's going to be shown, but he did get there. The problem will be, was that door enough to think about potentially redressing that position? He's going to cover it to the inside. Here comes Lillis as well.
Oh, they're all looking over each other here. Pierce gets into the back. Lillis gets into the back. So bang, bang at the moment. Who's going to get shot down after that sort of hit? Then that goes on through. And for the moment, Marina Morella watches on going, oh, I'm going to wince away at that. I don't want this one to get nasty. I don't want to get caught up in it at the moment. 17:45 remaining on the clock. And we've still got a race, by the way, at the front of the field. That's only 1 second.
Yeah, they'll both be fuel saving. They sent each other aggressively early on. Now they might be eking back into that little bit of fuel saving, trying to play games against each other. We talked about at the moment, that Ferrari's really just, we said it's probably one of the stronger cars at the moment. It's not at the moment. It's looking like a little bit of second-hand machinery. This is continuing to allow Campbell to disappear down the road. Lillis gets off and into the grass. Now he's going to pull it up at the final corner. Sperry, I don't know how much longer I can hang on to this. I don't know how much longer these guys can hang on to this. But that's why these guys are out there. That's why these guys are doing the racing here tonight. And that is what makes this battle some of the best between 2 different marks.
It's so, so good. Morella was also off the road with Harrison Lillis there, just following his line. 5 seconds, by the way, on that instant have gone the way of Andrew Scordilis then, so he's got problems. Yeaman and Tyson Ford come in. They can't go any further, so they'll take their service with 16:45 on the clock remaining. And remember, we're still waiting for these splashes and dashes to come through. And it might be quite telling, not just if they make the splash and dashes, but when. And who have they got as a dance partner to work with when they do?
Well, the thing is, remember, we've got about 15 minutes here in terms of fuel. That's probably going to be somewhere in the realm of 20 to 25 litres to throw back at this car. We're probably in the realm of 10 laps from home. So that's sort of the numbers that we're dealing with. So in terms of your fuel rates, it's not necessarily all that easy. And the cars refuel at about 2.5% of their fuel tank per second. That refuel rate is based upon the entire capacity of the car that's available to them. That's not based upon what they've got available in this tank. It's not refilling 2.5% of 66 litres in the name of the McLaren, in the name of the Ford Mustang. It's at 2.5% of the entire fuel tank. And effectively, that works out to about a 20-second, was it 20-second fuel stop? Static in the lane, and then another 26 seconds or so for tyres. No, yeah, I've got the math wrong. Got the sums wrong. That's why I'm here in the commentary box. Numbers aren't necessarily my best game on the run.
No, especially not with the tanks, mate. But for the moment, it's going to be a case of, right, where can we find a good opportunity here? So now Lillis, Pierce, Eskandari, they're all there. They're all happy out there. Morella's going to be very much happy with what he's been doing. And this is where we're starting to think end game. Final 15 minutes. All bets off. You've now got to try and find the one run that's going to get you absolutely everything you want. On the brakes we go. Here comes Harrison Lillis, chucking it down the inside. Doesn't get there as he stays shallow through the corner. Byron Pierce just giving him racing room.
And the thing is, when you have a look at that from Byron Pierce, he was not required to leave racing room. Here comes all the rest of the pit stops. They're still throwing at each other. Back down here with Harrison Lillis. Overlap requirements were not achieved. But at the end of the day, if Byron Pierce turns himself off the nose of Harrison Lillis, the problem is he's still rotated. So he left him a little bit of room. He left him, gave him enough line to hang himself so he couldn't get the drive out the other side. For Lillis, it's about setting this move up. It's about challenging the grip of that Ferrari. Eskandari is starting to escort his way a little bit away. So again, it's not just get the move done here. It's the psychological seeing and soaring. It's what grip's available to the car. And like I said, Byron feels like he is struggling. Marino Morella just behind. He actually doesn't look too bad. He's coming back to these guys.
Yeah, so he's starting to bring himself then into a play where I think he's sitting and going, I am just going to let these tyres do what they need to do out there. I'm not going to push out there and say, right, what do I find? What do I want? Where do I get into this position? Really fighting out of Xiaomi over into Bilstein, working towards the Falkenbogen. This could be the run that you're waiting for as Jason Wilkinson now hits pit lane, climbing up the hill now on the run back to home. And this is where you look. Do you have enough for the inside? It's a thought from Lillis. Oh, he's in way too many minds there. He's had about 1,000 swing thoughts as in comes 1, 2, 3, and staying out only is Byron out there. And he tries to do everything in his power to say a lap longer's better. As also in Zach Rattray-White.
Yeah, and he's coming at it, and he's going to come in here. Is this a little bit of the undercut? Is this guys tinkering with each other? Is this guys playing with each other a little bit? He was close enough. He'd driven back to Damon. He always talks about, from Rattray-White's own words, Damon's just got something extra. He's just got that 0.001% of extra performance. Rattray-White is 95, 98, 99% of the way there. He's not that last inch. Is this the opportunity for him to rattle that cage? Is this the opportunity for him to throw something at it? By the way, Eskandari is away. He's got the lead of those cars coming off a pit lane. They're going to try and feed into their little gap as they possibly can. And I don't know, is that Angus Lawford who's all of a sudden grabbed it? No, Angus Lawford will be in the end of this lap. My apologies. He's gone that one lap longer. His fuel saving earlier on.
Yeah, very much has been, so he's looking to try and claw up, but Eskandari with a good gap now over to Lillis and Morella, and I think that's going to be the telling factor here. Mackay currently in that 12th spot with Lockhart, Brownlee, Lewis, Greathead, Richard Mitchell, and then Dan Yeaman is the next one who follows along in that line as they continue on with their progress here. 12:15 remaining on the clock, and still we wait for just the field to cycle out and the final stops that they have available. I'd expect at this stage here, Scott, to see David Woods just cover off Zach Rattray-White. It's the only thing he's got left to do.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be out of fuel at the end of this lap anyway, so I think we're expecting he's due into the lane right about now. So this time he should be on his way in. Sean Campbell's done with his fuel save. He's trying to do all that he possibly can. Byron Pierce, what does the undercut, the overcut look like? Is Lillis able to extract what he needs to over Byron Pierce, as well as he's also going to come to pit lane? The whole field's in. This is it. We're going to get cleansed, and we're going to get ourselves about 11 minutes worth of green flag racing where the die has been cast. Your place has been set at the table. Can you shuffle yourself just a fraction closer to the head end of town?
Rattray-White rounds the final corner. Woods, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8, keeps on counting. Campbell in and hits his box. Now Damon Woods leads pit lane, and this is going to be close between them here. Does Zach Rattray-White have enough? Not for a move, but watch for the speed here through turn 1 and whether that can be carried. Rattray-White's close, but close doesn't get you victories.
No, but he is a fraction closer. Now he's going to give us everything that's available to these two guys. Sometimes you save a little bit of extra fuel. You shortcut the pit stop just a little bit. There was 0.2 of a second difference between our two race leaders in times of static time in the pit lane. 10.6, 10.4 seconds for the front two. Between the guys that are in behind them, Sean Campbell, 9.1 seconds of fuel. He's gone really, really lean. He was aggressively saving in that most recent of Stoushes. Byron Pierce has gone 9.4 seconds. And I tell you what, he's jumped all of those orbit drop bear guys, but does he have some more fuel to save? These two are close together. And like I said, this is the setup for the end game. Premier Endurance end game. Now, who's going to be the one that gets snapped to their fingers and brought back into existence? Who's going to be part of that 10% that get decimated? And who has added enough fuel to get themselves home?
It's take another look here. This was Lachlan Pryke a little bit earlier on, working out of Xiaomi into Bilstein here, fighting to try and get to the outside, and he just gets put up on the side. And look at it, the bump, the wiggle, the hold on to it. Lachlan Pryke has had a rear end right now that has shaken more than a samba dancer all day long.
Yeah, it's just not been good for him. That car's just been tracking away from him, tracking away from him, tracking away from him. It's just not necessarily gone his way. He's been, I believe, over there and working with Will Saxton in the recent history and really trying to make something of himself. Is it there? Is it all the way there? No, but I definitely look at Lachlan Pryke and I'm saying there's improvements, there's good signs. You just got to keep digging, and today was just not that day. What was the good things? What were the bad things? What are the takeaways? And on a bad day, all you got left with is lessons. On a good day, you get results and still hopefully a few lessons, a few points to take home.
Well, you definitely don't want to be in a position, Scott, where you go, what am I going to take away from today? And someone turns around and says, mine's a pizza.
You don't want to get into the food debate this late into the broadcast. We've only got 9 minutes left. Perhaps there's time for an Uber Eats to be sent to my door. Oh, wait. I'm so far out in the sticks it doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, that feel out there. Almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Caelan Williams, though, still fighting. Lewis Greathead still trying to keep himself in. Now, he's got a lot of penalty here still as Lewis Greathead. So keep that in mind by now at the end of the race. Lachlan Cable currently holding on to that top 10 spot as Danny Davidson comes in with 8.5 minutes to serve his final stop. Back on the brakes here at turn 3. Big flick right comes along. 90 degree right of turn 4. That turn 4 feels a lot tighter than it actually is.
Yeah, it certainly is. It doubles back itself a little bit as well. You pick yourself up an off track, by the way, running around on the inside of that curbing on both the left and the right hand side coming out of the arena section. So you've got to be very aware of how much you use. But the cars, a lot of them, the GT3 cars, some cars can hit that inside curb and they love it. They'll lap it up and they want a little bit more. And some of them just can't. And where they sit as they settle on the rear end suspension is always the big question mark in the way you put the car in.
Yeah, so that makes the difference in terms of how it sets up, but you now look to think about, okay, this is where you want it to work, this is where you're trying to find that advantage now. Up over the top of the crash, over towards Xiaomi corner here, the next left-hander on track, and now you're trying to build to Bilstein here, the Falcon Bogan, the Vino Chicanery, and continuing to fly through lap on lap on lap, moment on moment on moment. Can you get there? Can you find it? Can you close that down? And Caelan Williams here looking at Lockie Cable and saying, well, let's just turn around and say, what's the team ranking order here, Scott, over at Logitech GODBM? Because if I'm turning around and looking at the order, do I really want to be 5th best driver in this team? I wouldn't.
No, everyone's always out for that internal glory and amongst the team, aren't they? And trying to put that head down. But at the same time, there'll be no discussion about it. It's all right, we've gotten here, we've gotten to the end of the race on, try and come and earn it from me. The big thing is make sure you bring all those cars home. You always probably leave a little bit extra room when you get there at the back end of the race. And Caelan's also, so the two newer entries to the Orbit Drop Bear team are Eskandari, who's only just been announced this week. But Caelan Williams at the start of this season, actually not go-karting, mate, for Tyson Broad. There was some debate and discussion about, do you want to come and race and have some fun and do something a little bit on the sim and get out there and really enjoy it? Yeah, why not? So much so he's racing from the other side of the world to come and join us here.
Why wouldn't you? There is so much joy that you can get out in this racing, and even if you've got a European schedule that's going on right now and you're out there in Europe, I mean, if you're out there anywhere in the world, great racing is great racing, and go and enjoy as much as you possibly can. You know, there's reasons why people like me, Scott, for example, get up at 4 a.m. to go and commentate some racing out there. And Williams watches behind what is Lewis Greathead, again showing that even after 2 bits of penalty for contact and driving a bit too deep, he's still not afraid to get close to the rear bumper. And that is still a really good sign out there. We'll take another look. This is Project 36 in a little bit of trouble here. Is this just off the curb then here into turn 3? This might be Greg Cook by the looks of things. Back steps out. Goodbye. It goes around.
And we saw that, a little bit of moment of that. We actually saw the replay from Sean Campbell earlier on. That one was cold tyres on that occasion, so at least he's in good company with a mistake down there. That one was probably just a little bit too much speed in. And here we go, in a team battles, and this is the European section. I believe this is only Howard Statler and Ethan Bass, the 2 European drivers for Orbit Drop Bet, having a crack at each other.
Well, it's a case of can Austria defeat Scotland out there in this match. This is what has happened to Ethan Bass. He was on the back of Zach Kerr. Oh, and the back just switched on it like nothing out there, and you don't often get to see that, how quickly that went around on him.
It could be a downshift, I would say, just from the off-board shots when that one let go. You can just see it. There's a slight little bit of yaw, and the cars will accept that. A little bit beyond that, and they just will not accept that, and the whole thing lets go, and that got beyond the savable slip angle for Ethan.
Yep, so there is going to be a lot more that needs to be done to go and gather that one back. So I think here he realises, okay, late stages, handful of laps to go. I do not want to be making these mistakes late. And again, Williams here, he's half in two minds. Do I have to defend against Lewis Greathead? Do I have to attack against Lockwood Cable?
He's thinking about it. And certainly, again, there was a number of these guys, and Kalen last time out, he elected for the right tyre strategy, not taking tyres the whole time. His qualifying position necessarily didn't belie the pace that was in the race. Again, as I said, you've got a whole bunch of levers. He was able to engineer something on that occasion that looked after his tyres really, really well. No tyres across the entirety of the race, and it paid off for him, but he was slow in that final stanza. This is a different kind of race. He's got tyres on board that, and this one is about raw pace. And I was a little bit worried about the raw pace out of that Ferrari. Turns out it was all fuel saving. He switched that thing on beautifully.
Yeah, Byron Pierce has found another gear here, and that has allowed him to break away with the time that he has available to it. So I would be looking here and saying, yeah, this has been really good from Byron Pierce, and he will love the fact that he is staring down the barrel here today of a top 5 finish when you look at what his round 1 was, and it wasn't where Byron wanted it. He walked into today way down in the championship, 27th, Scott.
Yeah, not necessarily the first race that he was after. It was a lot of biff back at Circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia. And don't forget as well, 3 more rounds left to come after this one for 5 rounds for the second half of the championship. So it's about switching on. Drop rounds will come into play. Road Atlanta's the next round in a month's time on the 20th, Sunday the 20th of September. Sebring at the end of November the 8th, Sunday, November the 8th. And all over and done with by the end of November. Daytona on November the 29th. It's actually in the 24-hour series actually on this weekend. I've been partaking in that on board of the GT3. I can tell you, Lockhart Brown is another one of those drivers who's double duties this weekend. We talk about double duties up and down this field. And he is just cooked. He is really, really exhausted, and he looks battle-worn. He looks sunken, doesn't he? He looks paler now that he did at the start of the stream. I reckon he's just starting to lose a little bit of energy.
I would say that is the most even-looking Lockhart Brownlee I've seen in a very, very long time. He's still trying to find his way by being the guy, but for the moment, he's just hoping, right, is this going to be my chance to get there? Damon Woods has just stretched the legs out enough. He's now almost 2 seconds clear at the front of the field, but Lockhart Brownlee, look at it here. I tell you what, he just wants a nap.
Wants a nap, but he's nearly leaning over out of his chair at the moment, trying to chase down Dean Mackay ahead of him. And Kai's, gonna hold that one off, at least for now. Running out of time, by the way. In actual fact, the leaders have just gone through. There'll be 2 more laps left of this race, by the way. Who's got enough fuel? Who underfueled it just a fraction?
Well, who is going to find that they've got it? Zach Rattray-White realising here that they crossed with a minute 52
Watch the eyes.
remaining on the clock. And here's the thing, Scott. There's a minute 52. Then he says the laps are looking at a nod of the head. I'm done. I'm tired. I want to go to bed as well.
But that's a moment of frustration for Zach as well, because he's there. He's behind Damon Woods. He's playing second field. He's being second best. He's doing everything he can to step his way forward. He had in sprint cars on Wednesday night in the 2026 Australian Pro Invitational Series for sprint cars. He was up the front for a very, very long period of time. He was frustrated.
Mackay!
No!
Dean Mackay! Final lap of this race, potentially.
No, free to go.
Dean Mackay has gone around contact with Lockhart Brownlee, who was not scouted to how slow he was in the middle of the corner. He said he was tired, and now he will see the race control stewards in the final stages of this race. Not what Lockhart Brownlee wanted to see at that moment in time. That contact now makes for all of the difference here in that very, very late stage. Scores a replay then on screen as he went through turn 2, over into turn 3. Just looking for a way to get the drive and he just pushes him round the corner, and there's not much more that he could do about it. The checkered flag is about to wave, though, here for Damon Wood. 2 from 2. And again, it's his style. Arms reach right now and dominant in the display here in your Premier Endurance League Open. Zach Rattray-White in second will realise he's Jonas Vingegaard to his Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah, but that will wane and will wear on you. And like I said, he was on for a very, very strong middle of the week in sprint cars. And eventually, at some point in time, you want your day. And it has been all Damon's day this year, really much, the whole time. Yeah, sure, he's putting the time and the effort in. But Rattray-White's driving 5 different cars a week and throwing everything at the board. What that does do for you is it adds to the technique. It adds to the ability to try and stitch that sort of stuff together. But you can just see he's just lacking the finer details in any one car.
And maybe that's the key. If you're a jack of all trades, a master of none, can you ever get there when someone's put a little bit more into it by comparison? Some great results up through the field here. Lachlan Capel, for example, is up 11 out there overall. Feeling like this with great points in terms of what that's put. The last few cars making their way over towards the line, including Madeline McGee, who she's had an up-down around day 25th. Miles Burgess there in 26th position. And so what a day at the office we sit ourselves with here in the Premier Endurance League Open. Jackson Dial technically still has to get himself around, and he's dealing with, and has had to deal with on this last lap, cars that have finished their race and think, oh, well, I don't have to do anything and I don't have to worry. No, there's guys still racing around you.
Yeah, and technically, the reason for that is he crossed the line to take the white flag a few moments before the guys that took the checkered flag in the pit lane. So they've actually overtaken him after they've taken the checkered flag. So this one will still count. He's still chasing down Jason Wilkins just ahead of him. I think Wilkins is struggling for fuel because he's dropping back quite aggressively. So that one might not necessarily be over. Yeah, Wilkins is out of fuel. Wilkins is absolutely out of fuel.
It's uphill to the finish. He has got himself over the line, though, critically. So he's there in 1 lap down. So he's going to be okay. Jackson Dial, though, will make his way around, and he will be the last finisher. And he's got 35 seconds remaining from here to finish. Otherwise, he is classified as 1 lap down. And that will be the finish, done and dusted there for Jackson Dial. And he will say, okay, back to the drawing board on attempt. But 2 hours, 1 second is how long this race took. So you almost got it perfectly on the nose there, Mr. Woods. And he wins this one by 2.3 over Zach Rattray-White. Sean Campbell will be the last driver on the podium, as he will put back-to-back podiums together. And I will note, 1, 2, and 3 are 1, 3, and 2. So Campbell and Rattray-White should be on tied points heading into round 3 of the championship at Road Atlanta. Byron Pierce and Sebastian Escandari are 4th and 5th, with Harrison Lillis finishing home ahead of Marina Morella. Again, 5 Logitech G ODBM cars inside the top 10, with Lockhart Brownlee, Lachlan Capel, and Caelan Williams all finding good results.
Yeah, 10-second time penalty for Lockhart Brownlee for that contact, though, is going to shuffle him down the order. Just that little bit. Dean Mackay will be disappointed with that one falling outside of the top 10. He'll get promoted a couple of spots at least for some penalties. Lewis Greathead will be one of the drivers amongst those receiving those. Richard Mitchum, the driver with the Cadwell Park lap record, at least up until the knowledge that we had, will get himself escalated, we believe, up inside the top 10 with 2 potential penalties just ahead of him. Mackay, Yeaman, Alexander Barallon picked off some spots late on in that one. Tyson Broad, Eli Donaldson had contact and didn't necessarily go his way. Zach Kerr also getting rotated on that final restart. That was punishing for the Vermilion Esports driver. Canier Racing's Nick Wood and Angus Lawford home, the first of the Project 36 cars.
Yeah, which then leads over to Ethan Bass and Harold Stadler there in 21st and 22nd. For Corvus, it's Josh Holmes there in 23rd, ahead of Greg Cook and Madeline McGee. Miles Burgess, 26th, and Lachlan Pryke, who had been sideways more than he had been forward. He can join me in Ningbo in 2 weeks there with that sort of drive in 27th. Corey Bennett, Curtis Bird, and Danny Davison making up your top 30. And then the final page will go down here to the likes of those who have run into troubles here. Joel Jansen's Jordan Mazzaroli and Jackson Dial, Project 36, 31st, 32nd, and 33rd, with Jason Wilkinson 1 lap down, 2 for Trent Allen, and then the retirees, Scordilis, Coleman, Farrell, Sapstead, Aidan Rankin there for Simline Race Services, and Kobe Williams, the first big retirement of the race, which necessitated then a little bit of trouble off of the get-go. We will take this opportunity then to talk with some of your drivers. Damon Woods then back at the top, 2 from 2, Damon, winning clearly a very good habit out there for you, and one where I think you were pressured by Zach Rattray-White behind, but the sort of pressure that you're there, but you're not going to throw a punch out there. It was a staring contest, and he blinked first.
Well, I mean, yeah, he got to 6/10, and he said it to me during the race that he can't really do much there. The dirty air kind of took over. Yeah, even if, you know, we were fuel saving pretty much the whole race, so we didn't really have much choice. It was just, you know, sit around, lift and coast, and, you know, wait for the pit stops to come around, which is, yeah, what happened. And then, yeah, safety car came out, which pretty much made the strategy as simple as it could be, and, yeah, just carried on to the end of the race, really.
And in terms of how you were setting up that race, I'm sure that the safety car had a fair bit of help, but you'd built that gap, you'd built that margin. Did that alter your plans in any way, or were you looking at that race for you going, okay, it's a mild disturbance, but it doesn't stop me?
Well, yeah, we pretty much, after I think 5 laps, when we pulled a gap on Sean, realised that we just needed to do 21 laps per stint when we get to the end, and yeah, so with the safety car it neutralised everyone, so it didn't really affect us in any way. It helped us because we didn't have to really worry about fuel saving for the rest of the race. So, but yeah, it was again pretty much just line astern. You could really pass. Zach was doing all he could at the end, but yeah, it's just the kind of racing we get at this track, and yeah, just some shake-ups would be nice to see to try and invite some closer racing.
Well, we will move away from Europe and we will head to the Americas, because it's the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta next. It's the perfect time to jump on with that, with the likes of Petit Le Mans on the horizon as well. How much work's going to be going into you to building a setup for that works for you, knowing that you'll have aspirations as well when it comes to the officials?
I mean, obviously it's very dependent on where the BOP goes for the official race, but yeah, it'd be good to have, at least going into Petit Le Mans, a car that we can, you know, use and know where it's at before we get to the BOP stage. So that should be handy, and we probably will put in a fair bit of effort for that. But I mean, what I'm looking forward to is the fact there's going to be 2 one-hour races. So, you know, there's going to be chances for there to be a bit more action. And it showed last year at Adelaide that, you know, the 2-race format works quite well. And yeah, that was probably the best race in the season for that round. So yeah, I'm keen to see how Road Atlanta goes, and yeah, so just carry on in the championship and try and maximise what we can.
He's sprinting away towards it for Motorsport SimWorld SX. Damon Woods then getting the job done for the second time in a row. Groundhog Day, it seems, for Zach Rattray-White, stood by with Scott Rankin.
Zach, there was a little bit of a moment with just under a lap to go as you went through and into the arena section. We just happened to have your camera up and on board, and there was a little bit of frustration. You tried, you threw everything you had, you slotted back out, 1 lap to go, and then there was a big sigh of relief, a little bit of mistake through the arena section. Everything went away. And I get the feeling, I had a chat with you earlier on in the week as well. It's just been a little bit frustrating. Some things going your way, some things not. You had bugs compromising a race that was potentially on the table for your winning last weekend, a moment in the sprint cars on Wednesday night. And Damon just said, mate, he threw everything he had at me. That's just where the cars sat when they're so close together on performance. Dirty air just takes it out of you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was frustrated. I was just more so bored. Like, you just can't can't do anything. It's just how the race goes. You just sit behind and fuel save. Everyone's on the same strat, so it's just no, I wouldn't say it was frustrating. I know that me and Damo worked hard on the setup, so it was kind of good that we just gapped the field and yeah.
Mate, strong performance at least here tonight from the Nurburgring, but you know, we've still got the 3 American tracks here to come. We're off to Road Atlanta next time out. I get the sneaking suspicion that might be one of the tracks where we start to see some of the other manufacturers start to fire back against that Ferrari. Is that perhaps the first chink we see in the armour for you guys at a track with a lot of rise and fall to it?
Oh, I think Damo mentioned BOP, but I think it won't really matter. I think we're all comfortable in the car. It's one that we know very well, so I think whatever whatever the bop order is or whatever it goes, I think will be quick, like regardless. So I don't think it'll make much difference.
Mate, you look like you're just about ready to jump off and go do something else at the moment, so I'll leave it with you. But first and foremost, before you get that opportunity, is there anyone you'd like to thank? Mate, I'm reading that from you. I know you're honest. I know you're trying to give us your thoughts. You put attitude, you put emotion, you put energy into it. A little bit boring and whatnot for the dirty energy, but I do actually genuinely appreciate you coming. For me, it's important for you to share that. Like, I like that you have a thought, right? You say, I'm bored, it is what it is, it is what it is. But that's important. That is a driver's perspective, that is your input on the situation, and it's got to be shared, it's got to be said. So I thank you for your input. Is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Well, thank you, Scott, of course, as well as Jake and Jay behind the scenes. But no, Damo and Marino, I think they put the heavy lifting into the car. I put my input in, but I don't think my input has much weight behind it in the GT3. So yeah, my shout out goes to them.
Mate, congratulations on the P2. I know your moment in the sun's coming at some point in time, and you'll have a big supporter of me when that does come through, mate. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's been a big weekend, long weekend, mate. Have fun.
Thanks, Scotty.
And Reese, one more driver to have a word to.
Who's
it's
Reese?
a driver. Sorry, Shakespeare. My God, I've called you, I think, about 10 times.
5 times tonight over this weekend. You've done that.
Over the weekend,
times.
I think it's about 8. I think it's actually more than that. I'm so sorry, mate. For some reason, the default name that comes out of my head when I'm on broadcast with you just seems to be Reese. Either way, we have Sean Campbell in the booth. A man that was having fun tonight. A man with a setup that was not the finest train on the planet. It was indeed not on rails. Sperry, you got him with you now.
I do, Sean. I guess the understanding of today for you would be it was quite a lonely experience up until the safety car. Were you happy to rejoin civilization when the group all bunched back up together again?
For a brief moment, yeah, I think. I got to see them again for the last time, and then they disappeared into the distance.
Sometimes it happens like that. Just talk us through the Lamborghini and trying to activate those tyres. We saw the snap that you had on that restart going through turn 3. Is it something where you're just trying to get a little bit more understanding of the Lamborghini, seeing how it plays out? Or is that something that you walked into when it came to selecting the car going, yeah, that might be one of the pitfalls?
Yeah, basically that. Second one is the Lambo's usually really good at firing up the tires, but at really low speed, it's extremely dangerous because of how much it turns off throttle thing, right? So it wants to rotate super badly. And so the normal way to drive the car is to just wait to downshift like really, really long in all corners. And on the cold tires, I forgot you have to wait longer. So I downshifted to second, close to the apex. And that's not late enough on cold tires, I guess, because it instantly kicked it out. And so I just need to delay that basically. But if you can deal with that in the Lambo, it's so fast. Like, it's so quick. It just has free rotation everywhere.
Well, if rotation is free, well, one of the best places to go and work with it is going to be at Road Atlanta. So when you are putting together this final 3 rounds of the season here, Sean, are you looking at this, American circuits, do you see that as somewhat of an advantage for you? Or do you think that everybody's turned around and has done so many laps at these circuits coming up that basically it's going to feel like an even playing field?
I don't know, because Road Atlanta historically, everybody likes that track. And then Daytona is Daytona. And then, I don't know. Car-wise, the Lambo's pretty fantastic on bumps these days. It's not actually that bad anymore. And so Road Atlanta should be pretty good for it, as long as I can find out how to make it quick. And then, what's the other one? There's another one. I'm sure there's not just 4 rounds in this series. What's the other one?
Well, there's definitely one in the middle of that. So I believe it's Sebring.
Sebring. Okay, the Lambo's really good at Sebring. So that might be something. I say that and then I'll lose by 10 seconds again, right? But yeah, I mean, it's good for me at Sebring.
Well, hopefully it will be good for you at Sebring, but we've got Road Atlanta to focus on first. But best of luck when it comes to the racing action. It's back-to-back podiums for Sean Campbell, a second in round 1, a third here in round number 2. Scott, as far as we now set ourselves up in mind, our next focus is going to be on the 20th of September. So that's going to be where the next battleground is held. And Road Atlanta is a bull ring of a circuit that often punches well above its weight.
Road Atlanta as well is probably got one of the highest rates of gain and fall in terms of the net across the lap. It's a short, punchy little lap. There is a massive crest between turn 1 and turn 3. You fall back down, you come back up, and then you get to the top end of the point, up and down the back straight away. A rise and crest down to the final corner as well. In terms of its rate of ascent and descent, it's much more than there is at Bathurst. The reason being is it's across a percentage across the course of the lap. It's a short, punchy lap with a lot of rise and fall. In terms of volume of rise and fall, no, Bathurst certainly has one of the highest anywhere out there. But again, it's that shortness of the lap. A 1 minute 18 second or so lap time in GT3 hardware. It's quick, it's punchy. And the other thing is, it's all right-hand corners as well. Trying to get both sides of the car to work evenly there, that is a challenge in and of itself.
7:55 p.m. AEST. You can catch that with us here on SimSpeed TV, and some wonderful racing action that we have had once again here with the Premier Endurance League. But the Nurburgring, we said at the beginning of the show, is a staple diet for endurance racing of GT3 leagues. You have to throw everything you can at the wall. You have to pray that it's going to stick and your opportunity is going to be there. Damon Woods right now is on absolute rails. He does not sit back. He does not make mistakes. He knows when to battle when he needs to, but he's at such a level where he doesn't even need to do that at this moment in time. Zach Rattray-White ground down and bored into submission. That is what we would call a spirit breaker at round 2. So, everybody around the world, Zach Rattray-White needs your strength to create a spirit bomb that turns the tide of this championship, and he needs that to fall at Road Atlanta.